If you want to destroy a culture and a people, it helps to destroy their heroes and their mythology. The Great Replacement continues. So this is JQ posting. So this guy is like only a few steps removed in this particular video from the Jewish question, and this guy is like, oh no, yeah, the Great Replacement, white people are being removed by a nebulous them, probably the Jews. You know, I don't even have to abstract or play the benefit of the doubt here. These guys are just being Nazis. So this video is just an unambiguous lie. This is Clownfish TV saying Doctor Who is trying to appeal to 12-year-olds. How fucking dare Doctor Who, the BBC flagship family show, appeal to 12-year-olds? It's ridiculous. It's self-parody. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. They're so stupid. They're so stupid. Okay, so this is just straight up racism. I'm so glad that we're like 20 seconds in and he's just like, he's black, he's Scottish, he wasn't born in the... He's not British. Well, he's not British, you know, because black people can't be British. Part of me respects the honesty, but this is a 40-minute video.
Gyrating with a bunch of dudes on the dance floor while wearing his...
He's not even gyrating. What? Once again, do you just not know how people dance?
kilt, because that's appropriate viewing for children during tea time on Christmas.
It's Scottish! Are you just saying that kilts should not be on TV and should not be seen by children? This was the Queen's funeral back in 2022. This was broadcast to hundreds of millions of people across the world. Do you think that children shouldn't have seen this? Because they're all wearing kilts? Is this degeneracy to you, Bolstrek? Do you genuinely consider kilts to be degenerate? You f***ing lamp.
Ruby goes back to her all-black foster family, and it turns out...
Okay, imagine the thing that you love the most. It could be Doctor Who, it could be your family, it could be your pets, it could be pizza, whatever. Imagine the thing that you love the most in the entire world. It's impossible to love that thing half as much as Reaper despises black people. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and almost 2 years ago it was confirmed that Ncuti Gatwa would be the first black actor to play the Doctor, and the reaction from conservatives and reactionaries was pretty interesting, to say the least.
Oh, fuck. Fuck it, it's dead.
So David Tennant as Doctor Who should go back into the past, find out where woke came from and stamp it out immediately.
I do think it's a box-ticking exercise. The difficulty with it is even if these actors are brilliant, which I'm sure they am, they'll always be seen as a box-ticking... they'll always be seen as a box-ticking exercise. And it's also social engineering with children, and that's the thing that I'm really concerned about.
Dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab, wenn ja...
I find it all a little bit peculiar, if you ask me. I find it just a desperate attempt to try and tick boxes and say, look, we're doing this, we've got a gay person, you know, I almost said a straight person, but that would be hilarious, wouldn't it? Because try being a straight, middle-aged kind of guy these days. I don't even think you'd get cast as a straight, middle-aged guy these days, if you was one of those.
Sorry, I should have said unhinged. Unhinged responses. What's funny about that last clip, though, from Michelle Dewberry on GB News, she said that while David Tennant was currently filming Doctor Who in Bristol, a straight, white, middle-aged guy was the Doctor while she was recording that. Insanity. Genuinely untethered from reality, which is essentially the conservative position. But now that Ncuti Gatwa is officially now the Doctor, as in he's playing them in the TV show proper, he is the incumbent, and his first proper episode, The Church on Ruby Road, has broadcast, I thought I'd take a look and see how conservatives are reacting to Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor now, as opposed to something that's going to happen in the future. To clarify, I've not pre-watched any of these. I go into them completely cold because I want to be able to prove that you can debunk their talking points with absolutely zero preparation, and many of these videos have been sent to me by people in my Discord server, people in my DMs, etc. This first video comes from The Jolly Heretic. What on earth has happened to Doctor Who? The thumbnail has Dr. Woke and someone there wearing a pride flag who does not appear to be the Doctor, so I'm not sure what's going on here. But anyway, let's take a look at what on earth has happened to Doctor Who.
Hello, 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 and welcome to this edition of A Quick Pipe. Now, what is happening with Doctor Who at the moment? We have Doctor Who being terribly...
Like, the void of space? Like, has he been sent to the Matrix or something? And the Matrix, I mean the Doctor Who Matrix, not the Wachowski Matrix.
At the moment. We have Doctor Who being terribly concerned about the pronouns of aliens.
Okay, so right out the gate, a misrepresentation of the show itself. They've been doing pronoun and gender non-binary and aliens for around 50 years now.
Doctor Who falling in love with Isaac Newton, and
falling in love? He just said he was hot. You can find someone hot and not fall in love with them. Jesus Christ, this just already reeks of massive masculine insecurity from the Jolly Heretic.
Being South Asian. Why on earth is this happening? Well, by the end of the video, I hope it's going to be clear that this is happening because this always happens when new ideologies take over. This happened with Christianity, and it's happening with Doctor Who. Now, when Christianity took over, what did they do? Well...
Okay, I'll give this guy credit. This is a completely different direction than your traditional conservative response videos go. I don't know too much about religion. I have to confess that much, but yeah, okay, let's see where it goes.
Well, they came up with a concept of Christians before Christ. They wanted to convey the idea that, in a sense, nothing had really changed, that it had always been like this, that the world had always been Christian, that people that were important and intelligent and that mattered and that, crucial...
why didn't you, fix your collar and then whatever?
Cultural figures and mythological figures and all this, that it was all Christian. It had always been Christian. It had always been like this. And this was a way, I suppose, of indoctrinating younger people into thinking that this was the way things were and always have been, and so you simply shouldn't question it. Why should you question it? It's always been like that. Now, I think you have something like this with Doctor Who. I mean, it's rather sad that we've moved from a huge world religion to basing our identity and our sense of reference around TV programmes that were created in the early 1960s, but there you go. What do you have with Doctor Who? You have an important British institution that is, in a sense, part of the British sense of self. There is a degree to which it is part of being British to like Doctor Who and to enjoy Doctor Who. He is, in a sense, a modern mythological character in British history. He is something...
in a vacuum, there's nothing wrong with this particular analysis, but there's something to be said about the idea of just the collective culture. He's specifically talking about Doctor Who here, but it's the idea that you don't just base your ideology or your thought process on one specific TV show or one specific piece of pop culture. It's basically a broad spectrum of the media that you consume. Music, theatre, TV, podcasts, YouTube, etc., etc. So I think he's just massively simplifying the concept here. And why is he simplifying it? I think we're going to find out.
Thing around which a sense of British identity is based. And so it is quite important that if you're going to fundamentally change the sense of British identity from whatever that sense of identity, whatever that identity nexus was in, let's say, the 1980s, which was when they finished Doctor Who. They had Sylvester McCoy and they finished Doctor Who in about 1988. To this modern revival of Doctor Who, then you have to make sure that Doctor Who is congruous completely with the current way of thinking. So you can basically say, oh, well, Doctor Who has always been woke. He was woke before woke. And so that's what you do. You make Doctor Who woke. And that's exactly what they've done. How do you make it?
Okay, so this is interesting. So he's trying to ascribe the idea that saying that Doctor Who is progressive now and then trying to basically get ahead of the argument for Doctor Who has always been progressive, but in his case it's Doctor Who has always been woke. The issue here is that woke is a term that has basically zero meaning, and it's a self-ascribed meaning based on the person who is saying it and who it is being said to. It is a term that is entirely context dependent. Even compared to something like Christianity, where you've got all these different sects of it, you've got these different interpretations of it, that actually has a much more concrete, objective meaning in this case than the word woke, meaning essentially that this is a nothing argument.
In woke, you make him concerned about pronouns, you make him...
But here's the thing though, Doctor Who has, for the past 60 years, gone into the topic of gender non-conforming aliens. I think the first ones to explicitly state it are the Censorites, and that was in the very first season of the show in 1964. It was the subtext in 1964, and then in the early 1970s with the introduction of the Peladon characters and also the Sontarans as well, it became the actual text itself. So not only is the Jolly Heretic just really wrong in the abstract, he's even wrong in the pure specifics and the objective aspects of the show.
And so that's what you do. You make Doctor Who woke. And that's exactly what they've done. How do you make him woke? You make him concerned about pronouns. You make him potentially homosexual in that he fancies Sir Isaac Newton. And another aside is that they have used an Asian actor to portray Isaac Newton. Now, I mean, but yeah, perhaps very, very naive young people might be taken in by this and might actually genuinely think that Sir Isaac Newton was Asian on this basis.
But by that logic, very naive young people also think that Isaac Newton invented the theory of mavity when the TARDIS crashed into the tree. I think there is a level of abstraction here that the Jolly Heretic is just completely ignoring when it comes to watching a TV show that is a fantasy blue box show.
But that brings me to the second purpose of rewriting the national mythos, which is basically to humiliate those that don't agree. So there is an extent to which...
I mean, to be fair, I have watched many, many reactions and responses to Doctor Who, casting women, casting people of colour, casting LGBTQ plus people. You folks do an incredible job of just humiliating yourselves. Doctor Who doesn't need to do anything in order to do that.
The boomers or whatever, it is true that their sense of identity, their sense of national myth, their sense of who they are, is part of it is things like Doctor Who, because they watched Doctor Who when they were children. And so what you need to do is you need to demoralise those people. You need to upset those people. You need, so that those...
By doing what? What is the show doing outside of just the superficial casting of Isaac Newton and making the Doctor say, oh, I think Isaac Newton was hot? Like... what is the show doing outside of these really tiny, minimal changes in order to justify the sense of humiliation? Theo, stop trying to get in the cupboard. You're not allowed in there. Honestly, first impression from the Jolly Heretic, if you search Doctor Who on his channel, this is the only thing you get from it. You also get the evolutionary reasons for oral sex. Why do geniuses always see the gorilla? Why men rape in war? So basically, this is the only Doctor Who video this guy has ever done. And obviously, you don't need to make Doctor Who videos to watch and understand Doctor Who. Obviously not. But it kind of leads into my assumption that this guy actually has no idea what happens in Doctor Who. And other than, the Doctor was Sylvester McCoy in the late 1980s when it was cancelled, other than that really superficial knowledge of the show, and plus the topical stuff that they're doing, pronouns and Isaac Newton, basically stuff that you could have just grabbed out of the headlines or basically just seen from any reactionary YouTube video talking about Doctor Who. He's just grabbing and clutching at these really superficial trappings of Doctor Who and trying to apply his ideology on top of it. I think this is just a really clear-cut case of the Jolly Heretic just seeing something newsworthy and trying to project wokeness or anti-wokeness onto it.
People feel rubbish. That's the idea. Those people feel terrible, and those people therefore just feel too deflated to be able to fight back. Well, one of the ways you can do this is you can take symbols that are important to them, such as Doctor Who, and you can impose something on them which those people will find offensive and upsetting, i.e. that they are concerned about transsexuality, or they are concerned, or that they are gay, or whatever, just to rub their noses in your power.
So yeah, this guy just basically hates the idea of trans people or people of colour or just gay people in general as well, just being cast in Doctor Who. Just the idea that, gay people weren't in Doctor Who in the 1960s, 70s and 80s, although they demonstrably were. The very first director of Doctor Who was a gay man, Waris Hussein. Obviously, I don't have a list in front of me of every gay actor who is in Doctor Who, but in the 60s, 70s and 80s, they definitely existed. But the Jolly Heretic seems to think, no, this is just a recent inclusion. This is just a recent thing in order to, rub people's noses. Like, who is actually doing this? Who is coordinating this effort to try and demoralize people? And also, what's the motive for it? This is, unironically, a couple of steps removed from the Jewish question. Like, it's some sort of nebulous them who is trying to control and manipulate people through the culture and the population through degeneracy and things like that, trying to make us a weaker people. This is, unironically, the Jewish question, but only a couple of steps removed from it.
It's a way of humiliating them, of saying, look what we can do to the symbols that you cherish.
But why would they do that, and who is doing it?
And hopefully, therefore, to demoralise them so that they don't fight back against your power, and your power is based...
But, like, whose power? Like, what is the notion of power here? Is unironically, I'm genuinely asking, I'm not going to ascribe this to him, but is this, like, the power of white supremacy? The power of like, what power is he referring to? He's so nondescript.
Around the woke system. Similarly, there may be a sense in which people that are of the older generation, of the boomer generation, put things like historical truth and accuracy above conveying diversity and promoting woke politics. And on those basis, they will object to an Asian person playing Isaac Newton. So having an Asian person playing Isaac Newton can't really be seen as, oh, it's just colourblind casting. I don't think so. I think it's a deliberate attempt to humiliate people. And they've actually talked about this in the newspapers, though it will upset the boomers, to humiliate people.
Okay, so you're not actually going to show like any sort of citation here. You're just going off vibes, just pure vibes. You have no evidence. You have nothing to substantiate this. Just fucking vibes. Okay, this is a feels over reals type of scenario, right?
That don't necessarily agree with the up-and-coming ideology, and if you disagree with it, a way of saying, look what we can do, that which you find sacred. We can trash that ideas such as objective truth and so on, which you find sacred, and we can put on.
Here's the thing, though: when it comes to objective truth, we're already messing around with it anyway. Because even if the scene was absolutely identical, except that Isaac Newton was played by a white actor, Isaac Newton still did not discover the theory of mavity because the TARDIS crashed into the tree. We're already dealing with historical abstraction here. William Shakespeare in Doctor Who did not look like the William Shakespeare in the portraits that was depicted. They made him deliberately to be a much younger rock star looking guy with a beard and a lush head of hair. And also William Shakespeare did not fight witches. The dodecahedron of the Globe Theatre was not created in order to encompass magic and in order to trap the witches with the power of words. Like, we're dealing with Doctor Who here. But even if I were to take this guy at his word that he needs pure objectivity, where does he draw the line here? Because there have been so many times over the past couple of years where they've included people of colour in Doctor Who historical stories from Victorian times and like pre-20th century, and they're like, oh, why are they just inserting all of these black people into the background? Because black people didn't come to the UK until the 1980s or whatever their personal threshold is. But it's stupid. Like, they don't see black people as people, even though we have increasing historical evidence that there have been black people in the UK since the Roman period at the latest. So then conservatives look at black actors in the background of Thin Ice or black actors in the background of the Shakespeare Code and think black people didn't exist in the 15 or 1600s because black people came on the ships in the 18th. They just don't. It's an ahistorical reading. So in other words, conservatives lose the argument when it comes to the abstract fun blue box show of Doctor Who, and also just the pure history of the UK and the racial makeup of its population. There is literally no front in which conservatives win this argument here, which I think the Jolly Heretic subconsciously knows, which is why he has presented 0 examples and 0 evidence, despite being 6 minutes into a 7-minute video. He knows he's got nothing.
Our own ideology way above it, and that is what they always do. That's what the Christians did. I mean, in trashing things, destroying the temples and ripping them down and that sort of thing. You trash that which the previous group regards as sacred. So the previous power group that was in power. So that there really is nothing new about this at all. The question is, to what extent does it provoke a backlash? To what extent does this actually just humiliate people that disagree with...
Honestly, if the idea of Isaac Newton being stunt cast in just like a 1-minute scene at the beginning of one episode of Doctor Who for a mavity joke humiliates you, you have way deeper issues that stem from the personal, not the societal. You need to get those checked, genuinely.
With woke ideology, to what extent does this genuinely manipulate young people into accepting that, it's always been like this, there's always been the new Christianity, and not questioning things? Or to what extent does it actually create a bond, an internal bond?
The main difference here, though, is that when it comes to Christianity, we are dealing with abstractions and stories and stuff like that, and, things that are quote-unquote not fictional or fictional, whatever, you know what I'm implying. But when it comes to Doctor Who, we can actually look at the past of the show, with the exception of some of the missing episodes, but we even have the paperwork and the audio and photos and stuff. We can look back and see that there were people of colour working on Doctor Who in the 1960s. There were queer actors and queer creatives working on Doctor Who during the 1960s, 70s and beyond. There has been historical revisionism of Doctor Who since the 1960s. Marco Polo did not carry a police box on his journey to Tibet. With Christianity, you have interpretation that spans millennia, whereas for Doctor Who, you have objective TV and pop culture history from the past 60 years that you can just see. Like, you can watch the pronoun scene in The Star Beast, and then you just watch a scene from The Curse of Peladon where the companion Jo Grant is also corrected on the pronouns of Alpha Centauri. And it's like, oh, Doctor Who's been doing this for at least 50 years. You can watch stories like the Sensorites and realise that they don't have a gender binary, and that's one of the very first aliens created for Doctor Who. And even the Daleks, although the Daleks are deliberately meant to be non-humanoid, they're meant to be deliberately, like, non-relatable. They don't have eyes, they have an eye stalk, they have a metallic voice, etc. The very first humanoid-shaped aliens for Doctor Who were basically carving the path for the Star Beast in 2023. So in short, this guy's got fucking nothing.
Or to what extent does it actually create a bond, an internal bond between those that are conservatives and disagree with this, and provoke some kind of reaction, which might...
I'm very glad he's just said, yes, we're conservatives, so therefore we're insecure, we're constantly humiliated. You know, I don't even have to say anything. This guy would just outright admit it.
Bring this down. And that's a very interesting question, I think.
Are you ready for the future of the West?
Okay, so yeah, that was fun. Let's look at the comment section as well. All BBC output is now firmly aimed at people who do not and never will pay a TV license. Like, who? Like, queer people? Do queer people not pay the TV license? You know, do Asian people not pay the What? If you want to destroy a culture and a people, it helps to destroy their heroes and their mythology. The Great Replacement continues. So this is JQ posting. So this guy is like only a few steps removed in this particular video from the Jewish question. And this guy is like, oh no, yeah, the Great Replacement. White people are being removed by a nebulous them, probably the Jews. You know, I don't even have to abstract or play the benefit of the doubt here. These guys are just being Nazis. Tom Baker is sorry enough to live long enough to see this. We've already heard his thoughts on Ncuti Gatwa. He loves Ncuti Gatwa. He thinks Ncuti Gatwa's hot. This guy was getting upset at the 14th Doctor finding Isaac Newton hot, and here's Tom Baker looking at a photo of Ncuti Gatwa and saying, oh, is this the next Doctor Who? A handsome young man, marvellous cheekbones. Like, unironically. So this guy's argument of, oh no, Doctor Who hasn't actually been woke. It's similar to a religious capacity, Christian before Christianity. And Tom Baker is just a living refutation of that ideology. It's perfect. Once the colour barrier was destroyed, all the other destructions just follow in its wake. What does he mean by colour barrier? You know what he means. Evil can't create. Unironically, that's kind of true. That's why conservatives cannot make media. I wonder how long it's going to be before they suddenly fix the chameleon circuit on the TARDIS because being a police telephone box is too problematic. Firstly, it's so funny that they have to just make up scenarios to get angry at. But secondly, that was actually a fake rumour done by Nullzone like a few years ago when he was like putting out fake leaks and fake news stories about Doctor Who Flux, saying that the BBC were getting rid of the police public call box because of Black Lives Matter and defund the police and stuff like that. But then like a week later, we saw them filming on location for War of the Sontarans, and there was a police box in the middle of a field. So these people just know they're lying. They just know that they're lying, but they need to be victimized. What on earth has happened to Doctor Who? That is an excellent question, and the answer is feminism / political correctness / cultural Marxism happened. Firstly, cultural Marxism, that means Jewish. Political correctness, this guy will not define anything. And also feminism, who the fuck do you think Sarah Jane was in the 70s? Unironically, have you seen a single episode with Barbara Wright from the 60s? It's a terrorist attack against the English by enemies of the realm. Unironically, genuinely unhinged. Oh god, just looking at this guy's channel, surely liberals should support white nationalism. The truth about Prince Archie's skin tone. BBC presenter cannot work with white people. How women changed the university atmosphere. What I Told Jordan Peterson. Oh god, the Venn diagram is just absolutely on display here, isn't it? Anyway, let's go to Clownfish TV. Doctor Who doesn't want you watching anymore.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And good news, everybody. Doctor Who is going to feature many controversial elements, and it's going to attract a lot of Gen Z.
Right, because that's what the show needs. It's working so well so far.
We talked about this before.
Yes, it needs a younger audience because it's a family show that's trying to appeal to young people and people watching it with families. You know, parents want to be able to watch the show with their children, so of course they want to attract Gen Z. What the we're 20 seconds in and this is just This is the most ridiculous thing Clownfish TV has said since the last thing that he said. And also Geeky Sparkles is like, oh, that worked so well so far. Reminder, all of the 2023 anniversary specials were the #1 most viewed drama in the UK the week they were broadcast. All of the numbers from last year are starting to come in, and the Doctor Who episodes were some of the most watched shows of last year broadly, generally speaking. Unambiguous, massive success. And here's Geeky Sparkles like, oh, that's done well for them so far. They've only been the #1 most viewed. What the So stupid. So stupid.
Russell T Davies was making comments that that's what they want. Is that what Russell T Davies wants, or is that what Disney wants? Because Disney dumped like $100-200 million into this show.
We don't even have a number. He's just making shit up now.
And are they like, well, our research says that we need to go more Gen Z, and we need
Hey there,
more
fellow kids.
We need more TikTok.
Yes, Disney wants to appeal to a younger demographic. What's the issue with this? They're Disney. Of course, they want kids watching their films. What? So yeah, Gen Z using the mid to late 1990s as the starting birth years and the early 2010s as ending birth years. So early 2010s. So we're talking about kids who could be from like 10 to 15 years old. So yeah, that's a great demographic to try and get into Doctor Who. I got into Doctor Who when I was 12. So these guys are saying, oh, Doctor Who is trying to appeal to 12-year-olds now. It's like, that's the age I was when I got into it. Like, what? It makes my job so redundant. I don't even need to say anything. These guys will just be clowns themselves.
No, I know what they're saying. They're basically like, we want a TikTokable, memeable Doctor.
We want a TikTok Doctor Who.
TikTok Doctor Who. That's gonna be the.
Yes, because Doctor Who previously has never tried to be memeable, has never tried to embrace social media platforms. The fan show during the Stephen Moffat era, basically Stephen Moffat's entire writing approach was trying to appeal to Tumblr, and then he'd insult them in person. The Last Centurion, The Girl Who Waited, The Impossible Girl, these are all like pithy, Tumblr-friendly titles that he was giving characters during the early 2010s. During Rusty Davis's first era, using the Doctor Who website, using the TARDIS minisodes, using the Fear Factor weekly blog and stuff online. Like, in other words, this is Doctor Who doing what Doctor Who has done for, no joke, nearly 20 years.
Let's talk about this. Before you get any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news.
I just noticed this is a Bounding Into Comics website, aka just an explicit fake news outlet. Tell you what, let's actually search this thing. I have yet to find a conservative influencer who will actually accurately represent an article that they read. So this is an article from Spencer Bakuli, but it's cribbing from The Independent. Doctor Who companion Millie Gibson, there are so many controversial elements to this season, it's what we need. Let's have a look at what she actually said. Gibson's admission that this season has an element of Black Mirror in it, not so much at the start, but it definitely grows darker. It will attract a lot of Gen Z viewers who go with the times and represent a lot of faces and themes that are really important to see on television. Davis, of course, has long been praised for his commitment to inclusive storytelling, especially his spotlighting of LGBTQ+ stories from Queer as Folk to It's a Sin. Also, It's a Sin, just to remind you folks, was a record-breaking drama for Channel 4, was an unambiguous massive success. So Millie Gibson says that there's so many controversial elements to this season, a good sort of controversy, and it's what we need to see on our tellies. Some people might think this isn't the Doctor Who I know, but I'm really excited to see it. It's really cool that they're doing concepts like these and changing it up. Talking about working with CGI after working on Coronation Street, I was crying my eyes out at a tennis ball. It's little things like that where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Why have I just been crying for 3 hours straight at a tennis ball? So the title of the video is Doctor Who doesn't want you watching anymore. So, you watching? Doesn't? We're going to have a lot of Prosecco involved just in case. So this is something else. So basically, this title is a lie. So this video is just an unambiguous lie. This is Clownfish TV saying Doctor Who is trying to appeal to 12-year-olds. How fucking dare Doctor Who, the BBC flagship family show, appeal to 12-year-olds? It's ridiculous. It's self-parody. This is something that I would invent as like a skit or a stupid, ridiculous hypothetical, but here's Clownfish TV saying, no, the BBC and Disney want 12-year-olds watching Doctor Who. How fucking dare they? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. They're so stupid. They're so stupid.
Yeah, so we're going to give a hat tip to Bounding Into Comics. They put this together, and they said, yeah, that there's an interview with the new companion, Millie Gibson, and she's saying that the direction of the show is going to be different. Well, we already gathered that, right?
I don't have words. I mean, I'm just like, I just don't understand this. It's like
all you mentioned is the Goblin song, which is like a 1 minute banger of a moment in a Doctor Who episode. Like that, Doctor Who has had musical moments in it before. Like, come on. So, Doctor Who's going to be so different. They did a song one time in a Christmas special. Come on, I need more than this. Come on.
You're seeing firsthand it's not working. Your ratings.
#1 most viewed overnight drama on Christmas Day for the first time in Doctor Who history. What do you mean it's not working? What metrics are you pulling from?
Drop week after week. Your old fans, you keep doing this. You tried this with Star Wars 2 and look how that went, right?
Yeah.
You completely alienated your old fans.
How? Name one specific, I'm begging you, other than the Goblin song.
For new fans that you then pissed off anyway because they get triggered by anything. Like the old fans, they'll put up with a lot until you start vilifying them and making changes for no reason other than the fact to appeal to these new fans.
How? What
and
are
then
they
if
doing?
you do one thing wrong, the new fans turn on you. They're already turning on Russell T Davies because he isn't this enough or that enough or he's racist or whatever.
Example, such
because
as?
they literally spend their whole day looking for things to be pissed about.
But yeah, let's
And yet you can't name a single specific. Come on, actually try.
Do that. Let's do more of that.
let's pander to these people. Now, look, this I think is Disney. I think this is
Disney already ruined Star Wars.
I think this is partial.
Ruined
Now,
Marvel, same thing.
yeah, so this is going to be
Let's go for
Disney's
Doctor Who.
Disney's Doctor Who. It's so funny because I remember a few years ago there was a meme going around. It was Disney's Doctor Who, and the TARDIS looked like something out of Willy Wonka.
Well, my next thing is when are they going to take the police telephone box thing off the outside the TARDIS because that's problematic.
Well, I heard
They are fucking sheep. It's the same hypothetical. It's the same imaginary complaint. They're a fucking hive mind. They have no original thoughts. Oh, they're probably going to get rid of the police box because it's problematic. I mean, we've been saying this for 4 years and it hasn't happened, but eventually it will happen and then... Oh my... Delusion. Absolute delusion.
a rumor.
Are you kidding? I was joking.
I heard a rumor that they were going to finally fix the chameleon circuit. That's why the TARDIS has been stuck in police.
Oh god, is this the Null Zone fake news story? Like, you're on Bounding into Comics. Of course you're going to come across fake news. You're in the fucking environment for it. You are in the echo chamber. Of course you're going to stumble across fake news every so often. And the fact that you keep on hearing these rumors and seeing all this fake news story that never comes to light, surely you should have like a moment of realization where you think, I've been seeing all of this fake news, all of these fake rumors for years and years and years. I mean, I first talked about this guy in like 2018 and fucking nothing he's ever said has been correct. Surely you should think like, oh, am I the problem? Like, why am I always wrong? Am I the problem? Because no self-awareness.
Box mode for decades.
So now, because they're them, they're going to change the TARDIS look too.
Probably, because we can't have, a police call box.
That is like iconic for Doctor Who. You cannot.
Yeah. So
These guys have gotten stun-locked by a fucking made-up rumor from like 4 years ago that didn't go anywhere, that they made up in their heads.
Everything you get. You deserve it in spades.
That is a rumor. Now, I don't think that
you deserve the thing that we made up, and we won't tell you why you deserve it. So
it would be...
You know what? I'd like to say they wouldn't be that dumb.
They wouldn't be dumb enough to permanently change the TARDIS, but I could totally see Disney being like, well...
Put a mouse on it.
Put a mouse.
Make it gay, make it lame.
Could we just make it just a regular phone?
Didn't they announce Zootropolis 2? AKA a film series where the main character is a police officer. Sorry, Zootopia 2. Announced by CEO Bob Iger. Not only that, they announced a spin-off show. Like, why are you trying to project this idea that Disney is like anti-police? Like, what? Woody from Toy Story is literally a sheriff.
Phone booth because we think the police are problematic and we don't think Gen Z likes the police as much.
And make sure there's a poster on it that has Mickey Mouse.
Oh God!
Well, they put Bad Wolf on before, but so
yeah. So anyway, this is an interview that she had with the Independent, and she said that
but you're not going to read the Independent article, even though you have it right there in front of you. You're going to read the Bounding into Comics framing of it. How fucking fucking lazy. You can't even put your own interpretation on the actual article itself. You need to have it filtered through bounding into comics.
The upcoming episodes will not only attract a lot of Gen Z viewers, but also feature a number of controversial elements that may lead fans to question the show's identity.
Wait.
Listen, identity. The word identity does not turn up anywhere in this independent article. This is a bounding into comics deliberate editorialization. And Millie Gibson even says there's so many controversial elements of this season, the good sort of controversy. Do you think the good sort of controversy comment is going to be in this article at all?
This is one of those cases where you tell your actors to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, this is anti-marketing in action, guys. The BBC's been a little slow to get the memo. Other studios have figured it out.
Yes, they've been slow to get the memo that anything they say will be deliberately misconstrued and taken out of context by conservatives so that other conservatives can further misconstrue it for YouTube videos.
Yes, you can destroy your show just by letting your people run rogue and say stupid shit, especially since they've got like 4 or 5 months until the series resumes, right? And if they keep saying stupid shit, then
I can't even give Clownfish TV the benefit of the doubt here. We saw earlier that he has the independent article up. He can literally just click on another tab and check if that's what she was saying. But he fucking doesn't, because he knows he's a liar.
Ruby has a relationship with the Doctor that I don't think the audience has necessarily seen before.
What would that even be? Doctor's daughter, done it. Trans people.
Come on. Well, it's such a nebulous bit of marketing speak, and she's like, no, we need to make something negative out of literally everything they say. What would that even be? You've not even seen it before, apparently. We don't know. You're like a fucking coiled spring, just ready to leap at fucking anything. She's shadowboxing against an interview that's already being misrepresented. This is like you're playing Pokemon and the ghost Ghastly does fucking double team, and you're shadowboxing. This is a tortured metaphor.
Well, we did it with the recent one. We did it before. Polyamorous relationships. We already did it with Captain Jack. The Doctor's gay.
So this is something we've not seen before, apparently. So of course it's not going to be those things that you've mentioned if we take Millie Gibson at her word here. You know what? Get me out of here. Get me out of it. We're moving on to the next one. I cannot take any more stupidity. I have a ceiling for this shit. And these folks, after 6 minutes, have already fucking blown past it. Okay, next we're going to GB News. This was broadcast on Christmas Day. Connor Tomlinson looks ahead to Ncuti Gatwa's first full episode of Doctor Who and says it's dreadful. Okay, Connor Tomlinson, for context, those of you outside of just the general social media bubble will likely know this guy as the one who went on Sky News when Lawrence Fox got booted from GB News in order to argue that there is no such thing as sexism, there's no such thing as the gender pay gap, and then he outed himself during the interview as being paid by Sky News for that interview, while the opposing viewpoint, a woman of colour, to argue that there is misogyny in TV and stuff like that, was not getting paid for that interview.
It's because of a much wider picture, and it's tiring to me. It's so tiring to me as a woman to come on here.
I'm sorry you're so exhausted to be paid to go on air. I'm not
paid. I'm not being paid for this interview. I came on because I wanted to talk about the problem of misogyny and the degradation of women in public. Are you getting paid for this? I'm not getting paid for this. Are you getting paid for this?
AKA essentially confirming that Connor Tomlinson is essentially just paid opposition. He's paid to be wrong on TV deliberately. He is paid to be wrong about everything he talks about. That's his genuine 9-to-5 job. But personally, I know him. He went on GB News a while ago. We talked about the clip. He was with Dan Wootton and Peter Purvis and another guy as well. And he just fucking invented a quote by Stephen Moffat. He just made up quotes. Just grabbed them out of nowhere, just made shit up on the spot. So, what does he think about Doctor Who, The Church on Ruby Road?
Connor, can I stick with you, please, and just ask you about the Doctor Who story? We have a new Doctor, am I right? Look, I'm going to hold my hands up here. People are going to shout at their TV screens. I have never watched an episode of Doctor Who.
What? So the show has been absolutely dreadful in the last few years. The Christmas specials were a staple ever since David Tennant's debut in 2005 now. Wow, I feel absolutely ancient. But the most recent 60th anniversary specials have been dire. They've screwed the continuity and they've cemented the fact that William Hartnell, the Doctor that started off in the 60s, is no longer the Doctor, the first Doctor. We don't even know who it is.
That wasn't the specials. That firstly, that never happened anyway because William Hartnell is still the first Doctor. But also, that wasn't the anniversary specials. That was like 3 years ago now.
They made Isaac Newton black, for Lord's sake.
He's Asian. Okay, come on. I know you like to try and tout yourself as colourblind, but he's not black.
And then now they've got brand new Doctor Ncuti Gatwa. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing his name, so I apologise.
Ncuti Gatwa. God's sake, he's been confirmed as the Doctor for 2 years. At least bother to pronounce his name.
And I just don't have much hope for the new series going forward, because the old showrunner, Russell T Davies, that brought it back, used to be a great writer, has since come back and said, oh, actually, we can't have Davros anymore, because Davros, being half man, half cyborg, apparently represents all wheelchair users. So now we need to just have him...
Not what he said. Remember, he's lying. He knows he's lying. He's genuinely, literally paid to be wrong on purpose. That's his job. He's lying. It should be obvious to anyone who's paid any attention. That's not what he said.
Walk around.
Well, Connor, you will know as well as I do that some of our viewers say that Benjamin Butterworth is the wokest man on GB News.
And
Benjamin, what do you think about the way Doctor Who's gone?
Look, Emily, people call me the wokest man in Britain, and I say, please, don't assume my gender.
Oh, well done. Well done.
That's one for...
That wasn't even funny.
Christmas cracker, I think.
Oh, you are so...
If that was in a Christmas cracker, I'd want my fucking money back. That was terrible. That wasn't even funny. Didn't even make sense.
Only a bit of a woker, aren't
You're
you?
Fabulous. You may have no gender, but you're fabulous.
Do you know what? I watched the 60th anniversary...
Oh, is that genuinely it? Like, they hadn't even watched the episode. Like, oh, okay. Okay, next up, we've got Disparu. I've not watched anything from Disparu. This was sent to me by somebody in my Discord server. So, Doctor Who review. Ncuti Gatwa ruins Christmas special. I don't know how Ncuti Gatwa himself could have ruined the Christmas special. I mean, he didn't write it or direct it or whatever. But okay, we'll see. We'll see what he says.
The new Doctor Who is not very intimidating. He doesn't have much screen presence.
He's not meant to... The Doctor's not meant to be intimidating. We are one sentence into this video and it kind of feels like it's already gone off the rails. Do you think that Matt Smith as the Doctor is intimidating? Just by looking at him?
He doesn't have much screen presence.
Doctor, what would that be? Just the Doctor.
Nor is he...
Like, he's not trying to have screen presence in that one. He's walking away from a police... How do you define screen presence here?
Particularly British.
Death trap. Check everything.
Don't leave her.
Okay, so this is just straight up racism. I'm so glad that we're like 20 seconds in and he's just like, he's black, he's Scottish, he wasn't born in the... He's not British. He's not British, you know, because black people can't be British. Part of me respects the honesty, but this is a 40-minute video.
You did too? In fact, and I never thought I'd say this, but Jodie Whittaker made a better Doctor. I mean, sure, the acting wasn't great.
Made a better Doctor? That's a strange accent and inflection you've got. I don't think you're from your particular country. I don't think you're very British.
Running was awful, and she treated her male companions like actual trash.
The thing is, Doc, I worry about the cancer coming back.
To be fair, she treated all of her companions like trash, not just the male ones. You know, stop having the bias here.
I should say a reassuring thing now, shouldn't I? I'm still quite socially awkward.
Not even caring if they died, but you still got the impression that she was trying to portray a really intelligent Time Lord. No matter how much she failed. I don't get any of that impression with Mr. Gatwa. Instead, it feels like he has a different priority in mind.
One touch to show me. I mean, I've said... Why do you blame Gatwa for that? Like, he's performing the role. Like, he didn't write that. Why are you laying that at Gatwa's feet? What? This is so strange. Like, when in doubt, blame the black man.
I said before that the only time I care what you do with your genitals is if you're pointing them at mine. Although I think I need to come up with a new exception. And that is that you
why are you watching Doctor Who's Christmas special and thinking about Ncuti Gatwa's genitals? That is firmly a you problem, Disparu. That's you. That's your mental instability.
I really need to rub them in my face.
I spent a long, hot summer with Harry Houdini.
So join me on...
Firstly, that's a callback to the 13th Doctor, but also, like, that didn't allude to anything with genitals. You know, it's rope. You can have rope play without involving the genitals. You know, I don't want to show my power level here too much, but you can do that. It's quite easy.
The magical mystery tour of the Doctor Who Christmas special. The show for the whole...
It's so similar to like the discourse surrounding the Star Beast and Wild Blue Yonder, where they'll take like a 30-second snippet, if that, from the episode, and then just make that the entire conversation. Like, all he's got is, oh, the Doctor danced in a nightclub for like 30 seconds in a Christmas special. And then, like, that's just everything to this guy. It's like, there's 24 hours in a day. He could have opened a brand new Xbox on Christmas Day. He could have got everything he wanted, had an amazing meal. He could have spent so much great and wonderful time with his family. But then Ncuti Gatwa is dancing on his screen for 20 seconds of the day. And he's just like, Christmas is ruined. I'm sorry. Christmas, I don't care about everything else over the past 24 hours. Christmas is ruined because a man danced on screen? What insecurity?
All Family, which has just been turned into a kids show. Seriously, why does this happen? Also, if it is for kids...
goblins. Why can't it happen?
Why have we got Davina McCall in it? She was popular about 20 years ago.
You saved my life.
Merry Christmas, Davina McCall.
I mean, she's still popular now, but having, like, actual celebrities playing themselves in Doctor Who has been a pretty regular thing for, like, 20 years. So, you know, this is, like, straw clutching.
Expect Azuma to know Davina McCall? The only way they'd know her is if she was their dealer. The episode start is suspiciously recognizable.
Once upon a time, late on Christmas Eve.
That's because 3 episodes ago, we had this.
Once upon a time. Once upon a time, Lord.
Seconds into the episode, already trying to harvest the positive emotions that people used to feel about Tennant.
Once upon a time.
That's not a Tennant connotation. That's just a fairy tale. That's just fairy tales. That's just storytelling for centuries. Like, why do you associate those words with the beginning of the Star Beast and not almost every fairy tale that's been told across human history in the English language?
Once upon a time, Lord.
And if those 2 lines side by side doesn't showcase the difference in screen presence that the 2 actors have...
What are you defining as screen presence? And also the context is so wildly different. Like, it's a voiceover from Ncuti Gatwa, whereas the other one was a poorly done green screen David Tennant. Like, what are you defining as screen presence? Of course David Tennant's going to have more screen presence in the most simplistic version, because he's actually on screen.
Those 2 lines side by side doesn't showcase the difference in screen presence that the 2 actors have.
By screen presence, does he just mean white? I mean, let's just rip off the Band-Aid here. He does already think that Ncuti Gatwa doesn't sound British, even though it's a Scottish accent. It's an accent that he has developed while living in Britain, so it's definitionally a British accent. So yeah, he probably does just think that screen presence means being white on screen.
I can't help you. I don't even know why we bothered, because just like Tennant's first episode himself, we really front-load the propaganda.
Binary.
I can only assume it's done, so once the parents have realised what's going on, the kids have already seen it. Too late, we got you. We start with a flashback. A stranger left a baby by a church.
She carried in her arms the most
It's so frustrating that I will get Content ID claimed all the time for having footage in my videos, and this guy is like, yeah, we'll just, like, react wordlessly to these scenes, no actual commentary over it or anything, and we'll just completely misrepresent and misconstrue it, and we'll say that Ncuti Gatwa isn't even British, and we'll say all these horrible things. But the BBC will be like, yeah, we'll let this on. We'll let this one slide.
precious gift of all, a newborn child.
Although if it was 2 hours before and still inside her, the BBC would have been more than happy to rip it limb from limb. Just how precious it is simply a matter of geography for the BBC.
A baby girl.
What the fuck? What? Do you want to substantiate the BBC's position on abortion and, like, the rights of a fetus? Like, that doesn't even begin to make sense. What? What is going through your brain? Like, if you are genuinely watching the Christmas special and your thoughts are, oh, the BBC wouldn't care about this baby 2 hours ago, instead of, like, the actual thing in front of you, once again, that's a you problem.
But the church takes the baby in, until that night a 1960s adult film star turned up on the door and also lies too.
Okay, so this is partly homophobic, also partly racist. He's just got a mustache, crying out loud, God's sake.
The Doctor.
The Imitator. With this show, I'm surprised he didn't come out the TARDIS doing a pirouette.
What the fuck? What is this guy's damage? Like, genuinely, what's his deal? Like, is he just unable to engage with any sort of media without thinking, oh, it's a queer actor, the TARDIS is doing a pirouette? This is like a dumber version of Jodie Whittaker's The Doctor, now the TARDIS is full of bras. Like, this is just unironically, a stupider version of that. Oh, he's got a mustache, porn star. Or there's a baby in the scene. Or 2 hours ago, the BBC would have been all pro-abortion. Oh, I'm assuming that's what he's implying. Shootigat was not white, so he's not got screen presence. Like, this guy's brain is just soup. There's nothing going on in there other than his political ideology and his dogma. We're not even at the actual credits of the story, and this guy is just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Ruby talks to Davina McCall. I don't know why. Unless Davina's a mum, I don't care either.
So
it's a reality TV show. Like, you've already seen the episode. Like, you've watched the episode and then you're doing this, like, pseudo reaction for the video. It's fine, whatever. But you know why she's there. Because they're making a TV show about trying to find her parentage. If you're willing to lie about just such simple shit like this, then it kind of makes you wonder, what else are you willing to lie to your audience about? Do you have, like, such open contempt and disrespect for your own viewers that you'll just lie to them about just the tiniest of shit?
Foundling.
That's actually another species of hobbit in Rings of Power. We get her talking about her new foster mom.
I mean, she's nuts, but she's the best mum I could ever have.
Not dad. Why would we need to foster people into a successful home? So then most of this scene is...
What? You can foster people as a single parent, and it doesn't matter about the gender. So this is just blatant sexism. He's saying that the fathers are the better parent. Like I said, his brain is soup. He just can't engage with the story or any media. He's just perceived this as woke because it's got a black actor or something, and now this is just what his mind is now. He's like forever railroaded into this position.
Completely pointless. They hear someone going, I assume it's Russell T Davies looking at dirty magazines in the background.
Is there a door open?
It's the goblins. Okay, you can make jokes about things that happen, like joking, misinterpreting, but he's pretending to not even know what the original context or the original content of the story is. Like, the joke doesn't work because you do genuinely seem stupid enough to think that.
But Davina's like, don't worry, I can investigate your DNA. And I really hope that's important later in the series, because it certainly isn't in the show.
Oh, we really can.
I mean, it does get brought up later, and it's about the coincidences between the Doctor and Ruby about how they don't know who their parents are. Like, this does actually tie in later. Like, basic shit. He's already seen the episode. He knows he's lying. Tell you what, this is boring. We're going to fast forward to the nightclub scene.
So we get the Doctor, who's dressed like a fashion victim of the 1940s. Maybe it's like The Matrix. Have you seen The Woman in Red? There's ever a Matrix 5. That's probably what we'll end up with. Oh, and in the background, you get to hear the obvious dulcet tones of a songstress. I'm not sure that's a word.
Gone away is the bluebird.
Feminine high notes there. As the little green goblin does what everyone in that place wishes they'd had the balls to do first. Sign me up for the Goblin King, folks.
Give his son Willy!
Don't you talk about his Willy. Later now, in a club.
Okay, so yeah, just blatant transphobia. Cool.
I think we have the answer to our question, folks. As Cutie Gatwa's exciting Doctor Who...
Cutie, not cute. What? God. This video is just tinged top to bottom with bigotry. Like, you can do edgy humor and stuff like that, but that's just all that this is. This guy just hates black people, hates queer people, also hates women, and that's just the video. Like, once again, I appreciate how upfront he is about it, but like it just kind of shows how broken and gone his mind is.
Who performance? Some people ask, is Gatwa gay? I'm sorry, but can you not tell? Even he says he's never been to Narnia. Coming out to his mum, I'm surprised he didn't slide down the birth canal covered in glitter. But no, apparently this was really big news. It was on multiple articles. He even did this whole thing about how it was toxic, that when he was in clubs, people found him attractive. He actually thought he was the only Rwandan person like this in the world. I don't know, little bit egotistical there, mate. But he says...
God, it's a metaphor. It's a fuck's sake. Why does this guy have, like, zero literacy? Like, media literacy in general, and just the concept of words. Like, this, it just escapes this guy.
Only Rwandan person like this in the world. I don't know, little bit egotistical there, mate. But he says, I couldn't be louder about all of this. But they definitely want you to know that Gatwa works through his internalized hate that he's built around the intersection between all of the various different aspects of his, I was going to say personality, but that's not a personality.
His race, religion, culture, and sexuality, that is part of your personality. It's like 4 different parts of it in like 1,000 different parts of it, but like that's still a part of it. It's more personality than you've showcased in this video, which is just hates blacks, hates women, hates queer people.
As he ends on an optimistic note. I think it's interesting to listen to how he talks about himself and also how everyone else talks about him. What is all these interviews focus on? Because it very rarely is about, like, you know, like talent. No, I mean, these articles literally just...
Because the talent is on the screen and in his work, and these are about his personal life. Like, once again, zero literacy.
Keep on coming, or like all the time. It is literally just everywhere. In every...
Yes, because he's playing the Doctor, the British institution. Like, of course it's going to be everywhere. There were Jodie Whittaker interviews everywhere when she became the Doctor. There were Peter Capaldi interviews everywhere when he became... Do you just have issue with the concept of promotion? Oh no, sorry. Let me correct that. You have an issue with a black queer man doing promotion. Like, that's kind of the beginning and end of it, and you've made that pretty fucking explicit. Anyway, I'm gonna fast forward to that exposition scene when he's talking about the goblins, and we'll just leave it there, I think, after that.
Now, this is worth bearing in mind, the fact that they get captured, so everyone knows they're on the ship already. And the moment he gets surrounded by goblins, he lets himself get captured. So it'd be weird then if later on he gets surrounded by goblins and doesn't act the same way. Foreshadowing! So the Doctor's looking
because the goblins weren't singing then when he was kidnapped the first time, so he was able to take advantage of the situation and the context that they were in, and also they were able to have the getaway because of Lulu Bell on the ship. Like, they didn't have Lulu Bell when they were kidnapped the first time. That's why they went up to the... Why am I explaining something to someone who is, like, obviously doesn't believe anything that they say?
Why have we gone from it? That's such a horrific name. That's such an amazing name. Also, I'm sorry for the pause face, mate.
No, because the other characters think Lulu Bell's a terrible name, but the Doctor likes the name Lulu Bell. Like, this isn't a contradiction. This is a different character. This is a different... Do you know that Ncuti Gatwa is different from Ruby Sunday and Carla Sunday? But yeah, open contempt for black people, open contempt for queer people, open contempt for women. The honesty is quite refreshing this time around. Okay, next up, we've got Ryan Kinnell. Doctor Who stars tell fans to F off, says it will go even more woke with black gay Doctor. Now, as somebody who does follow Doctor Who news for a job, I can categorically tell you that they did not tell fans to F off and say it will go even more woke with black gay Doctor. So the title itself is a lie, but let's just see. Let's see what's going on.
Even when a franchise is in as bad of shape as Doctor Who, when Disney gets their hands on it, they somehow find a way to make it worse. And a few years ago, when Disney bought distribution rights to Doctor Who...
What's this article? So Doctor Who destroyed by Disney, just like Marvel and Star Wars confirmed. Cosmic Book News. Let's look at this article. So yeah, Cosmic Book News is like bounding into comics. It's another explicit fake news outlet. With Rusty Davies getting that Disney money, instead of fixing the show and returning to putting out quality content and story, the Disney money has allowed him to double down on all the garbage politics and politically correct messages, which is also backfiring. What are the cited examples here? The Giggle and By Generation. Something that, as far as we can tell, Disney had zero input in. And also Ratings Bomb with Shooting Out with By Generation. Yeah, it was the least watched of the 3 specials, but still the #1 most viewed drama of the week, and it was only like a 4% drop from the episode before it. So, you know, also backfiring. 4% of people left. It's backfiring, you know, it's stupid. It's even more slap in the face drivel than the Chibnall and Whittaker era. What's the cited thing here? Doctor Who's debut felt like a timey-wimey slap to the face. So this is just an opinion piece. It's not even about metrics. Once again, this is a feels over real situation. Not only has the Disney money let Rusty Davies further destroy Doctor Who, once again, Disney money does not kick in until Series 14, but they do have some creative involvement. Back in January, Davies confirmed Disney has been providing him in the show notes, which caused him to change his original story and increase the budget because of the Disney money. They sent us a note on episode 1 of Shooter's first series that said, the opening isn't as much fun as the other episodes. It was a great note, so I've written a new opening, an expensive new opening, and it's broken everyone's backs, but it's absolutely worth. So until we know what the episode 1 first scene is, we can't really comment on anything. So it's just the idea of a financial benefactor providing notes. Like, just in principle, how is that an issue? Yeah, if scene 1, episode 1 turns out to be absolutely shit, fair enough, but we don't know yet. This is just a massive, massive bias. So anyway, let's see how Ryan Kinnell interprets this fake news article.
When they notified everyone that they would have creative input on the future of Doctor Who, people were rightfully very worried.
Also, the confirmed in parentheses in the headline, even though it's talking about scene 1, episode 1 of the upcoming series, which we're not going to see for another 4 months. So how the fuck is it confirmed? Like, blatant lying, blatant fake news.
And then we saw this disaster. We saw the new Doctor Who. This time,
saw this disaster. We've just gone over the article. It's talking about a scene that audiences won't watch for another 4 months.
He's going to be black and gay. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that progressive? Won't people tune in to see that? Well, unfortunately,
they did. They did in their millions. Categorically, unambiguous smash hit of a success.
No, they did not. Doctor Who Shooty Gatwa Christmas special ratings, lowest of the series. And when it comes to fan reactions, pretty easy to tell that fans are not super.
Yes, because it gets review bombed by biased people with a political axe to grind. This is not news. They've been doing this since 2018.
Interested in the newest iteration of the Doctor. And we've already seen a lot of shit, right? He's been advertised, I'm the gayest Doctor Who yet. Lots of people will be seen and heard and represented at all this bullshit. The 60th anniversary special was...
I mean, to be fair, teasing the gayest Doctor Who ever, he's going to have an uphill climb because he is coming after people like John Pertwee. So it'll be interesting to know how he's able to top that flamboyancy.
All about trans inclusion. And they are just going so heavy-handed with this stuff.
Yeah, because some actors also happen to be trans, like the one from Church of Ruby Road. Like, sometimes that happens. Some people are going to be queer, some people aren't going to be white, you know. Sometimes that's just going to happen just by virtue of casting in TV, you know. Like, what's the issue?
But if you thought it would get any better, if you thought that maybe they'd lay off the woke shit, no, don't worry. There's way...
okay, so the order of watching these videos has turned out really, really well. So this is another misinterpretation of that Independent article. This is a human centipede again. This is such a perfect allegory again. It's just a fucking human centipede. Where the front of the human centipede will eat the Independent article, then the person behind it will eat the shitted out misinterpretation of the article, and then somebody like Ryan Kinnell is going to be on the back of the human centipede, is going to be eating that regurgitated, misinterpreted Independent article. And then Ryan at the back of that human centipede shits it into his audience's mouths. Because people like Ryan and the other people that we've talked about today do genuinely hold their audiences in utter contempt. Like why else would they lie to them so often, so frequently, and just all of the time, always? Like, why do you feel so comfortable just lying to people who are meant to be your biggest supporters?
Doctor Who actress Millie Gibson confirms viewers will be put off by new Doctor Who as show aims to court Gen Z viewers. Doctor Who actress Millie Gibson, who plays the Doctor's companion Ruby Sunday, recently confirmed the show will feature so many controversial elements. What does that mean exactly?
Now, does this article have the words, the good kind of controversy? Okay, a good sort of controversy. So that is here. Let's see if he'll read it and let's see how he'll interpret it.
She explains. Speaking with The Independent, Gibson shared her belief the new show will attract a lot of Gen Z viewers since the season will go with the times and represent a lot of faces and themes that are really important to see on television. To that point, she also detailed, there's so many controversial elements to this season, the good sort of controversy. It's what we need to see on our tellies. So meaning more shit like, hey, let's make an entire episode about transgender acceptance. Hey, let's make sure we talk all about how the new Doctor Who is black and gay. That is what they're going to talk about. Like, mark my words, and they even admit it later.
So he's just getting upset at hypotheticals once again. Like, because we haven't seen the actual episodes yet, because we don't know the actual contents of the episode, he just has to start making shit up. Like, he knows he's got nothing, which is why he's resorting to the hypotheticals here.
Later on, Gibson admitted many viewers will be put off by the show. Some people might think, this isn't the Doctor Who I know, but I'm really excited to see it. It's really cool they're doing concepts like this and changing it up.
To be fair, because this is such a, like, milquetoast marketing speak statement, you could have said that in 2005 with The Revival. You could have said that in 2010 when Stephen Moffat took over with Matt Smith. You could have said this in you could have even said this in 2014 when Peter Capaldi became the Doctor as well. There's a really great quote from Rob Sherman, who wrote Dalek back in 2005, and he talks about changing the formula of Doctor Who. If you bend this particular part of Doctor Who, will it break? And the most exciting part about the show is figuring out what that threshold is. And Doctor Who being able to do that every so often is why it has the longevity that it has. Doctor Who in 1963 was drastically different to Doctor Who in 1966, and ergo in 1970, and then in 1974, then 1977, 1978, when Graham Williamson took over after the Philip Hinchcliffe era. It goes through these cycles and these waves, and sometimes you're going to be on board with them, sometimes you're not. Of course, that's just the nature of change in the creative process. But Ryan is just getting upset at just the concept of a show changing and renewing itself with the times, even though there is prerequisite dozens upon dozens of times for Doctor Who.
It's really good that they're taking a franchise that's already been dragged through the mud, and they're going to further destroy it with identity politics in order to attract Gen Z viewers. Oh, I'm sure they'll tune in. We've already seen, right? We've already seen how that's worked. The lowest
of the series, but still an unambiguous massive smash hit. I've said this before, the big giveaway when talking about viewing figures online is, will they mention the competition? Will they mention the ranking? Will they mention the audience share? Will they mention any of the competing shows around it? If not, they're probably trying to sell you something.
Ratings in history, and will likely
and yeah,
only
he doesn't even like go into the numbers or break them down at all. Like I said, he knows he's got nothing. He knows he has a narrative to spin, and he's trying to post hoc justify it.
Continue to get worse. It talks about this is the trans person that the 60th anniversary episode was all about. Actor Ncuti Gatwa, who plays the new Doctor Who, also confirmed the show will be very leftist. As I say, I live in a very leftist liberal bubble, and
yes, he's a black queer man who makes art and entertainment in the UK. Of course he's going to be in the left liberal bubble, because that's the bubble that doesn't want him dead.
There's a really great episode coming up next year where we lean into that. Oh, yeah. He also confirmed the show would discuss his race. Yes, definitely. It would be stupid if we didn't. The Doctor's always walked in unknown situations and taken charge with authority.
Just you shouting that sentence doesn't constitute an actual point. What's the issue with talking about that? Like, genuinely, what's the issue?
Historically, there's only one demographic of people that are able to do that, and it's certainly not a woman, and it's certainly not someone black. Thank God things are changing.
Now, to be fair, I do kind of take issue with that statement a little bit. That was one whole reason why I love Peter Davison as the Fifth Doctor, because he is not able to walk into unknown situations and take charge with authority. And I think that was less a race thing or a gender thing. That was more, I am no longer Tom Baker and I'm a little bit insecure about it. And that's not me criticizing that era of the show. On the contrary, that's why I love Peter Davison's era compared to like late era Tom Baker. Because the Doctor has these uphill battles. He has to try and like work around people and manipulate people and be more malleable about them, and to try and earn their trust and climb up that hill, as opposed to Tom Baker, who could basically just run circles around the Daleks. So while I would disagree with that statement from Gatwa in the context of Doctor Who, Ryan disagrees with it because somehow it's woke and woke bad for reasons I will not define.
Are changing. Bro, I could not imagine somebody that was not a Doctor Who fan, just wanted to check it out, see what this, I've heard about Doctor Who for decades. What's it all about? And they tune in to this utter dog shit. What a fucking joke.
He's not said anything. He's not named a single specific other than there was a trans person in it. There's a gay black man as the lead. Like, it's so superficial. It's so obvious what his issue is. It's so utterly transparent. Next up, we've got Reaper. The Black Doctor Who Christmas special was really bad. And here's the thumbnail with Ncuti Gatwa with eyes crossed, because in order to, you know, hurt the people that you don't like, you have to actually, like, misrepresent them in images and edit the images, you know, in lieu of a substantial argument. But, you know, this is a nearly 10-minute video. Let's see how the Black Doctor Who Christmas special was really bad. And considering that the Church on Ruby Road never really brings up the Doctor's race or his skin colour, I'll be interested to know how you get to that conclusion.
So here we are at the first special of Black Doctor Who, and what a shock, it's fucking dog shit.
And I was all, no way, no way.
This special is not Doctor Who. The Doctor doesn't act anything like the Doctor. His companion Ruby doesn't act remotely human, and everyone else in this special is a complete and utter moron, which is why it's probably called a special, as everyone in it acts like they have special needs. This Christmas episode is supposed to set up a larger...
Without any sort of substantiation or evidence or anything, that just comes across as just, like, really bigoted.
...narrative for the season going forward, but the only setup we have is who exactly is Ruby's mother, and there are two problems with this. A, nobody gives a fuck about Ruby, as she doesn't behave like a normal person, and B, anybody watching this already knows that the person who is going to abandon Ruby as a baby will be the future version of Ruby herself. We all know what is going to happen, so what exactly is the point in watching it? So, with a guy who doesn't resemble the Doctor...
you could argue that it's the journey and not the destination, but we don't even know who that is, so, you know, it just seems a bit of a stupid way to view media.
At all, not in his voice, which constantly slips into being African,
nor in the way he carries himself.
An African voice. It's his voice, and he grew up in Scotland. Like, how can someone who grew up in Scotland and does not have an African accent have an African voice? Basically, an African voice is a voice spoken by a black person in Reaper's worldview. Just utterly, like, demented.
Such as him crying about minor problems he can easily fix, or dancing in gay bars.
He's not crying about minor problems, like, he's crying because... Oh, you can watch my own review, which comes with 100% less racism than this one, but it's because he embraces the idea of found family, and he's talking to Carla Sunday, who has utterly rejected the idea or the positive aspects of found family, a foster family in this case, and is just a cynical and abandoned old person who's left in an attic in London. It's heartbreaking for him to watch, and it's informed by the story and his backstory as well. Like, this is a pretty basic surface level analysis of the episode itself, and Reaper's just like the Black Doctor Who Christmas special. Like, it kind of just shows like the difference between like conservative reviews and non-conservative reviews.
Minor problems he can easily fix, or dancing in gay bars, and with a woman who has the...
How do you know it's a gay bar? Like, just because he's a gay person in a bar...
Or dancing in gay bars...
...does not make it a gay bar. It's just a nightclub. What?
And with a woman who has the personality of a used condom, there is nothing to enjoy about this show. He also carries a sonic screwdriver that looks nothing like a screwdriver and is ugly as fuck, which is the perfect metaphor for the show. They are telling you that this is Doctor Who, but everything they show you is the opposite. And that's because Doctor Who is now nothing more than a skin suit that these people wear to write the real show they want to make, but they know that nobody will watch it. These people are nothing more...
Once again, unambiguous massive success. The #1 overnight drama on Christmas Day for the first time in Doctor Who history. Like, he's not saying any points. He's just... Unironically, he is like a broken NPC. He is just saying buzzwords. He's not naming any specifics.
More than blood-sucking parasites that must feed on healthy franchise after healthy franchise, sucking the life out of it until nothing more than a hollow husk remains before moving on to their next victim. Anyway, let's get into the dogshit plot. It begins with Ruby being left at a church called Ruby Road, for which she is named after. And before we go on, it's obvious that the writers are trying to make you think about Rose Tyler, a much more better companion who looks very similar to Ruby, as they hope that you would associate...
This is unironically quite racist. White women don't look the same.
...the two characters together.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
She's just a young blonde white woman. Like, the two look quite different, and they have very different hairstyles as well. What?
And Ruby is on a TV show trying to find any sort of relative she can, but she then starts to get haunted by some goblins that keep causing shit for her and everybody else she interacts with. The Doctor is aware of what is happening to Ruby and has been watching her for a few days. The first time he watches her is when he is dancing in a gay nightclub, probably high on methamphetamine.
How do you know it's a gay nightclub? One second, even in the background, there was like a heterosexual passing couple in the background.
When he is dancing in a gay...
Like, here we go, there's a man and what I'm assuming is a woman, long hair, I am assuming here. But it's just, oh, it's a gay man in a nightclub, therefore it's a gay nightclub. It's so stupid and reductive.
Nightclub, probably high on methamphetamines. The second was when a snowman was about to fall on someone she knows. The Doctor runs towards the woman trying to get her to move her gigantic ass out of the way, but she doesn't move and he ends up running right underneath it and gets hit by the snowman.
No, she does move. She what?
Towards the woman trying to get her to move her gigantic ass out of the way, but she doesn't move.
This is a clip afterwards once the snowman's already fallen. Like, this, why lie about this? You've got the footage. Why lie about this?
And he ends up running right underneath it and gets hit by the snowman because he's a fucking moron. Ruby goes back to her all-black foster family, and it turns out...
Okay. Imagine the thing that you love the most. It could be Doctor Who, it could be your family, it could be your pets, it could be pizza, whatever. Imagine the thing that you love the most in the entire world. It's impossible to love that thing half as much as Reaper despises black people. And I will take that to the bank. Like, imagine just watching a Doctor Who story and thinking, oh, it's an all-black foster family. Like, these people's minds are fundamentally crooked. Like, fundamentally broken. Like, if they are unable to watch a piece of TV and they're just unable to look past people's skin colour in the media, unironically, their mind is just balked.
That Ruby's foster mother has apparently raised over 33 children, but has only kept Ruby for some reason. Now she's either the worst mother ever who keeps losing her children, or, much more likely,
Do you not know how fostering works? It's not adoption. It's not a permanent arrangement.
He adopts kids for the free money.
No, it's fostering. It's foster.
For throwing them out when they get too old. They are waiting for a new baby to be delivered to their flat like you would a takeaway, but it ends up getting stuck.
Do you think that the foster baby in this case drives themselves there? Like, unironically, is this guy just genuinely stupid? Like, genuinely, like, low IQ? Like, refrigerator level IQ?
By a bunch of goblins, and when Ruby chases them onto the roof, we can see that she is easily able to rescue the child if she wanted. But no, all she does is look around and says this.
Yeah, because she's on a roof. And the adrenaline's taken hold. She's climbed on the roof to get Lulu Bell. She doesn't... And now it's sort of sinking in what the situation is.
Oh my god!
No shit.
Also, this is her first...
I mean, yeah, to be fair, it's not a great line, but the motive makes sense. The line itself, I agree, is not great. But the motive itself and the stopping, that's fine.
Time seeing goblins, and this is her reaction.
Did you just hiss at me? Was that a hiss?
Why is the sound out of sync? You know, what? Yeah, why is the sound out of sync?
So because Ruby doesn't react like a normal human being, the goblins are able to get back onto the ship with the baby. Ruby tries to climb on the ladder chasing after them before the Doctor shows up to help and gives her some magical bullshit gravity gloves. Why does the Doctor have
Mavity gloves.
So many new gadgets now? I thought the only thing the Doctor brings in
Hello? Have you never watched John Pertwee?
His adventures is his TARDIS, a sonic screwdriver, and his intelligence, because that is all he...
And a robot dog. Hello? And the Who-mobile. And psychic paper. Like, can you imagine, like, watching Doctor Who in 2005 and being like, oh, Rose Tyler doesn't react like she should to the Autons. Oh, why is the Doctor here with psychic paper? Why is he here with all of this new tech and stuff? But that's not going to happen, though, because Christopher Eccleston is white, and that's basically why.
He needs to be able to think his way out of any situation, rather than using Tony Stark bullshit nanotech. And all of these new gadgets he is building...
That's not nanotech. What do you think nanotech is?
Are introducing new problems to the show. Let's go back to the 60th special, where we can see David Tennant using teleportation. So why does he not do that now to get the baby back? Well, it's...
I can't remember the exact quote, but it's teleport coordinates, isn't it? With the sonic screwdriver. Lulu Bell has not been teleported. And also, he tries to use the sonic screwdriver later on in the episode to get out of, the room that they're locked in. And it doesn't work because it's a different type of science. It's magic. It's rope logic. And the sonic screwdriver doesn't work on that. Like, this is perfectly consistent. Like... Yeah, this is just like, this isn't even me trying to make exceptions or excuses for the episode. This is just the text of the episode if you just fucking watch it rather than focusing on how many black people are in it.
Well, it's because the writers clearly don't think ahead when they are introducing this shit. So anything new he does, like force fields or teleportation, will be forgotten.
How would a force field help in this situation? They're on a fucking ladder.
About by the next episode, as it would cause way too many problems going forward.
That's so fucking lazy.
So they climb up onto the ship, but are immediately captured. They are then tied to a wooden pole and left alone with no guards.
That's fucking stupid.
The Doctor tells Ruby...
Because the goblins are off to party, man. They're partying and they think that they're locked. They don't know who these two are. Like... Yeah, they've drastically underestimated these two, and they're going to eat the baby because they have to eat it at a specific time. This is the text of the episode. This is just what happens in it.
Be that the baby she was looking after is about to be eaten, and what is the first thing that comes to her mind?
It's my birthday.
Is it what now?
The fuck has that got to do with anything?
The real reason why she randomly says this is that they are trying to tie the baby and Ruby together as they have the same birthday, but the way she just
One
randomly...
second, let me just get the transcript for this. I can't believe this. I can't believe a single thing that's happening, and it's my birthday. It's your what now? Oh, never mind me. They're going to eat Lulabelle. What time's there? She's listing off, like, I can't believe that this stuff is happening, and to top it all off, it's my birthday. Like, I actually kind of forgot what this was until it kept getting brought up in videos and stuff, but this is perfectly fine. I can't believe this. I can't believe a single thing that's happening, and it's my birthday. It's your what? Oh, never mind me. They're going to eat Lulabelle. What time's dinner? Like, this is perfectly in line with it. There's a reason why he didn't play the lead up.
The baby she was looking after is about to be eaten, and what is the first thing that comes to her mind?
It's my birthday.
It's your what now?
Yeah, there's a reason why he deliberately omitted the beginning of that sentence, because he knows he's fucking lying.
Fuck has that got to do with anything?
The real reason why she randomly says this is that they are trying to tie the baby and Ruby together as they have the same birthday, but the way she just randomly brought it up was so lazy.
It wasn't random, it was a collection of incoherent thoughts because she can't believe the situation. You know this because you've got the episode and you've watched it. Why are you lying? Why are these people so comfortable lying all of the time, constantly? I find it difficult to blame my farts on the cats. But these guys will just go in front of their tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of subscribers and just fucking lie to them constantly over the pettiest of shit.
Ruby is about to be killed, and all you have is Ruby sulking that today is her birthday, which just makes her come across like a narcissistic asshole. The Doctor is able to free himself because apparently he learned how to escape knots from Houdini after bumming him for an entire summer.
Wait, how did you do that?
I spent a long, hot summer with Harry.
How vanilla is this guy's sex life if he believes that rope play requires as a prerequisite penetration? It doesn't. You don't need penetration for rope play. Why am I showing my power level?
Of course, Houdini...
And once again, we're going for the nerdrotic approach of, I can't actually come up with a criticism, so I'm just going to play a passive-aggressive clip. It is the laziest form of critique, and it's unironically copyright infringement.
Is gay now despite having a wife, because when has the BBC ever not lied about history? Now these two fully grown adults are trapped in this room because the pair of them can't get through a...
Shakespeare also had a wife, but is now traditionally thought of to be bisexual. If you've read any of his plays, you'll understand that there's a pretty clear queer undertone underpinning the full thing.
Flimsy wooden door. Why don't they use the supergravity gloves to pull the door down, you may be asking?
I don't know.
No, instead...
Because he doesn't need to. And that also might draw attention to them if they rip apart the walls. And is learning the vocabulary of rope, and also the gloves have a limited battery supply. They run out at the end of the episode.
The Doctor wastes even more time by pulling ropes until the door eventually opens.
He wastes time by getting them out of the room. How is that wasting time? What?
On the way to rescue the kid, the goblins just start singing a weird fucking song.
Her destiny is time to meet.
What the fuck am I watching?
The Doctor and Ruby are taking their sweet fucking time trying to reach the kid, but luckily for them though, the baby happens to be on the world's slowest conveyor belt, moving towards the Goblin King at a glacial pace. Before the baby is about to be eaten, the woman who plays Ruby tries to show us her acting range.
Leave her alone! Leave her alone!
Can't we get a better actor? I know it's a small part, but I think we can do better than this.
The pair of them...
Obviously it's subjective, but are you not even going to try and give an argument? Like, what is the issue with that? I want him to explain it. What? Genuinely. Does he just not have anything? Is he just completely incapable of expressing critical thinking unless it's around black people?
Them fall through the ceiling and are not just immediately stabbed to death by the other goblins. No, instead they do this.
Cause the Goblin King, oh the Goblin King, it's so good to meet you, you great big thing.
Once again, what's the issue? He drops into a musical number in a fairy tale logic world, so he buys time and he starts singing along. What's the issue?
Anyway, they grab the baby and in a poorly edited scene, a rope drops from the ceiling and they jump off the runway onto what looks like a bunch of goblins before somehow passing through the...
No, what were the goblins on? Okay? Reaper, use your critical thinking here for the first time in your life. What were the goblins standing on? Were they just fucking floating in the sky? No, they were on a floor. They could have moved maybe half a foot to the left or right because they aren't floating, they're on a floor. And then the Doctor and Ruby break through the floor.
A bunch of goblins before somehow passing through the hull of the ship and not even
because if you reverse intelligent gloves, you get heavy. They've increased their weight through the gloves. This is the text of the episode. I'm sorry if you don't listen to dialogue when it's spoken to by a black person, but this is your issue, not the episode's.
The goblins eventually leave, but it turns out that they have gone back in time and erased Ruby. We see the Doctor act in pure disbelief as he keeps asking the fat black woman if they remember Ruby. The Doctor is a time...
Say, what's fucking superficial shit? Also, it's not disbelief, it's more horror.
Time Lord who deals with situations like this every day, yet he is so shocked by this, so upset.
He's not shocked, but he is upset by it because he's got the personal ties to the familial connection and the found fact. It's the point of the episode.
That he actually begins to cry, despite the fact that he knows he can easily go back in time and fix it. Why is the Doctor acting...
So he does. Oh my god, so stupid.
Like a 12-year-old girl. He's supposed to be over 2,000 years old and has killed millions of people in the Time War, and he also barely knows who Ruby is. There is no excuse for him to be crying over this.
It's not just about Ruby. Oh my... Like I said, this is not just like a abstract interpretation of the episode. This is just what the episode is about. It's about the huge found foster family. It's about Carla. It's about Cherry. It's the 30-plus foster kids who have been influenced by Ruby's influence. It's a Wonderful Life isn't just about George Bailey. A Christmas Carol isn't just about Ebenezer Scrooge. It's the people within their circle who they influence and change over the course of their lives. Oh my god, zero media literacy, zero introspection. This guy, unironically, just saw that there were black people in the episode and just fucking checked out mentally. That's honestly just how superficial this guy is, just how unambiguously he despises black people.
Other than the writers wanted him to be a weak, pathetic character that shows zero masculinity.
You're crying like a woman.
What? What the fuck? This is unironically anti-man. Like, unironically.
Him to be a weak, pathetic character that shows zero masculinity.
But Reaper is, of course, the peak of masculinity because he sees black people in an episode of Doctor Who and makes a 10-minute video talking about how upset he is.
Anyway, the Doctor goes back in time to when Ruby was abandoned and stops the goblins from killing her. Using his gravity gloves, he pulls down the ship onto the church and impales the goblin leader. I thought the Doctor was a pacifist that hated violence, but he had no...
You literally just mentioned earlier that he killed millions in the Time War. Come on, pick a fucking lane.
Going forward, they are doubling down on everything that made the series fall apart in the first place, because none of these people actually care about Doctor Who. At the end of the day, they still get their massively overpaid salary, whilst being able to churn out political dog shit that nobody likes. And if Disney...
What's political about this episode, though? Like, you have had plenty of time to state an argument. This is a nearly 10-minute review. You've not said anything other than Ncuti Gatwa being a black queer actor, imagining that they were in the gay bar because of your own insecurity, and that there was an all-black foster family. So when it comes to political messaging, it's just race. It is just race that you've brought up, and also to a lesser degree sexuality. For crying out loud, you've called this review the Black Doctor Who Christmas special was really bad. Next up, we've got Yellow Flash 2. One thing I wanted to bring up here is that this guy has been doing AI-generated artwork for his thumbnails, which once again just kind of shows that he doesn't really give a shit about the creative process. But also, because we know that this guy unambiguously hates black people, we've gone over a video of his in the past where he was talking about the potential casting choices for an upcoming Doctor, and at best, he thought that the casting of a person of colour should be seen with outright suspicion, or at worst, just outright fucking hostility and contempt. Like, this guy just hates the idea of black people in TV. We've gone over his videos before in the past. Unambiguously racist, despises and loathes black people. So let's see how he responds to Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor. New Doctor Who Christmas debut is worst in show's history. Fans ditch Disney and BBC disaster.
On Christmas Day, There was a new Doctor Who special.
That Park Place. So this is another publication that I've not heard of before, but seems to be doing the rounds in these reactionary videos as well. Let's have a look. Why can't these guys have like independent thoughts or independent theories and stuff like that? Why do they have to sort of crib notes from these publications? I know that they're doing it because they can't actually come up with their own talking points. They have to crib talking points from other people. But yeah, judge dismisses Walt Disney Company's lawsuit in Florida. Disney responds to federal judge. Green Lantern writer Tim Sheridan admits to writing Spectre out of character. Says the book is important because it normalizes sodomy. Okay, so this outlet is just all identity politics. It's just all like anti-woke shit. It's another explicitly fake news outlet.
It was a significant episode for one reason.
I didn't even look at the headline. Viewers abandon the show's degeneracy. What's degenerate about the church on Ruby Road? Jesus Christ, it just has black people in it. And that word degeneracy as well. This is unironically like Nazi shit.
It was the debut of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who. So, yes, he was in 2 previous specials.
God, this guy talks so slowly. One second, I'm just going to up the speed.
Yes, he was in 2 previous specials, but they weren't truly his. He shared
2 previous. No, he was in 1. He was in The Giggle. Like, just basic factual inaccuracies. Like I said, we've gone over Yellow Flash before. He's openly admitted he doesn't watch and follow Doctor Who. He gets his talking points from Nerdrotic. And because Nerdrotic is, as we've established before, a pathological liar, Yellow Flash is getting information from a bad source. But then again, what else is new?
Shared them with David Tennant. This is his. So this is his first time solo and by himself. And usually those are big ratings draws, but not this time.
Remember, #1 drama on Christmas Day, the very first time Doctor Who has ever managed to do that. Unambiguous, massive success of a drama, just because it had lower viewing figures than something 15 years ago, aka, like all the dramas are losing that audience because there's on-demand, there's overnight, there's the sociological change of people adopting streaming, especially during the pandemic and lockdowns and stuff.
Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who Christmas Day special ratings, our second worst debut in history. Viewers abandoned the show's degeneracy. I don't know anything about that because I haven't been watching it. I've just been covering the news on it, but I do think it's funny that this franchise has lost half of its viewership. I did a video on this the other day. At their peak, they were getting, at least from what I saw, David Tennant's old Doctor Who episodes and so on, were getting like 10 million people tuning in on the regular. They have lost that by half.
9.5 million people watched The Star Beast with their 28-day viewing figures. Like, remember, David Tennant's era was before streaming. It was before on-demand. It was before the iPlayer. The only way you were able to watch David Tennant stories in the mid to the late 2000s is by watching it live or watching it on BBC Three on the Sunday evening. So yeah, of course the viewing figures and the trends are going to show a discrepancy almost 20 years later, obviously. Like, here's the thing. Yellow Flash, he does talk about entertainment and media as his like full-time job. He's got nearly like 500,000 subscribers. So he should fucking know this. And he does know it. He's just lying constantly.
So this is yet another bad look for a fallen franchise, a franchise that has been last Jedi'd. That's what I like to call it. Because you have fractured fan bases again. That's what this is. It's fractured fan base.
Honestly, I don't really see much in the way of fractured fan bases. I see a pretty unified Doctor Who fan base, and then there's reactionaries like Yellow Flash who are like, I don't even watch Doctor Who, I just cover its supposed downfall. Like, that's honestly what the fracturing is. It's people who actually watch and engage with the show, and grifters like Yellow Flash who are like, black people can't be on TV. If black people are in media, it's woke, therefore it's bad, so I'm going to cover its supposed downfall that I imagined, but I don't know how TV viewing figures works.
And it's getting even worse. It's getting even worse. Let's take a look at the numbers. The overnight ratings are in for Ncuti Gatwa's debut.
Okay, let's see if this passes the viewing figures test. Will he talk about rankings? Will he talk about audience share? And will he talk about other competition that broadcast around the episode?
Doctor and the BBC's Christmas Day special.
I will take any of those 3 things.
And they are not good. The BBC reports the Doctor Who special, The Church on Ruby Road, only saw a viewership of 4.7 million. This is just marginally better than the final 60th anniversary special that saw Gatwa take over the Doctor in The Giggle. That episode had viewership of 4.62 million. The other 2 previous 60th anniversary specials with David Tennant as the Doctor saw viewership at 5.8 million and 4.8 million. It was 5.08 million. Sorry, I think I said 5.8, but that's a decrease. Now, I think viewership will probably stay at 4.7 or 4.6 million for a few episodes, but that's still a significant drop for what this series used to do. It got really bad during...
we already have like the 7-day viewing figures. Didn't like, one second, BARB. Doctor Who's 7-day viewing figures was 7.48 million. That's the 7-day one, but he's not going to talk about that, I don't think.
Whittaker They tried to fix it by
To
bringing
be
in...
fair, he can't talk about that because it is Boxing Day where he did this video to say, God, imagine spending your Christmas period just lying about Doctor Who online for a job. Like, that's just your Christmas. Fuck, it's genuinely quite miserable when you think about it. Like, AI generating art here, you can see this thumbnail here, in order to, like, do a Doctor Who hit piece that you don't even fucking know anything about just on Boxing Day. It is, like, legit quite sad.
And that was not something that was going to happen. And now they've got this new Doctor. It remains to be seen if he can rebound and bring people back. Maybe he can. I don't know. But the facts remain that this is one of the lowest debuts for a Doctor ever. In fact, Gatwa's debut ratings as the Doctor are some of the worst in the entire show's history. Jodie Whittaker's debut...
When it comes to the overnights, like comparing Ncuti Gatwa's chart-topping debut on Christmas Day to, say, like Sylvester McCoy in the late 1980s when he debuted at like 120 in the charts because he was going up against Coronation Street in the late 1980s. There's a clear, obvious difference here. Come on.
So The Woman Who Fell to Earth had overall viewership of 10.9 million. That's crazy. Look at how much damage Jodie Whittaker's run as Doctor Who did.
1 second. That was the 7-day viewing figures, wasn't it? 10.95 million. Yeah, this is the 7-day figure. This is the he is just comparing the 7-day figures to the overnights. Once again, he knows he's lying.
This series. That's why it dropped in half. 10.96 million.
Actually, no. In this case, he might not be lying. He might just be stupid enough to not understand the difference. Because he's taken this article, which, once again, is coming from an explicit fake news outlet. He's taken it at its word. But who's stupider, the fool or the fool who follows him?
And that's down from Peter Capaldi's, who saw 9.17 million back in 2014. Matt Smith saw 10.8 million. Tennant's 10th Doctor, at the end of the Parting Ways back in 2005, had a totaling 6.9 million. His first episode by himself, The Christmas Invasion, hit 9.84 million views. Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor saw his...
What's interesting, though, is that he does mention the drop in viewership from Rose to the Parting of the Ways here. Like, obviously, the article itself doesn't explicitly mention, but this is like a 40% drop from Rose to the Parting of the Ways, whereas what we've been seeing over the 60th anniversary is like a 4 and then another 4% drop in terms of, like, from the Star Beast to the Giggle. And, like, that's, like, a fraction of the drop that it was getting back in 2005. But all of a sudden, that's just business as usual. But now it's end of days. Like, these guys have no idea how to gauge viewership. They have no idea what they're doing. Anyway, that was boring as shit. Let's go over this other thumbnail, which is Disney effed Doctor Who fans, attacks them for rejecting Christmas special. Once again, we've got AI-generated art here. I can guarantee you that the prompt that Yellow Flash gave it was angry N-word, but he didn't say N-word.
A lot of this new Doctor Who stuff is not going over well.
Oh, God,
with
it's cosmic. They're just cribbing off each other. They have no original thoughts. It's just another Cosmic Book news article. Fuck's sake, they're so lazy.
Over well with the fandom. Yesterday, I covered the fact that the Doctor Who Christmas special, which is also the debut of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, is the lowest rated debut of a Doctor ever. I mean, you look at some of the older characters, they've had 10 million something people watching them make their first episode. Look at these ratings from audiences. Holy heck.
Oh, holy heck, these obviously carpet bombed in a coordinated attempt in order to have some form of protest against a black Doctor Who, right? This clearly isn't any sort of manipulation going on here.
Low. Of course, looking at the critic score, 196. You know why they gave it a high score? Because the show is super woke.
How so? In what way? Go on, come on. You're going to give us a point?
Super woke. Disney, at it again, by the way, who are funneling money into this show. They are funding a lot of the new Doctor Who stuff through some new deal. So it shouldn't really surprise you that it's going the route that it has been. Now, of course, a lot of this damage, honestly, was done during Jodie Whittaker's run, from what I understand. He really didn't have anything to do with it, but judging by what's coming and the comments that a lot of the actors and the showrunner, Russell T. Davies, have said about the show and what's to come, I don't think that this cringe fest is over just yet. By the way, R.I.P. Doctor Who, still trending, and it's been trending for days.
Yeah, because you've got people who are very, 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 very committed in making the square peg fit in the round hole. They see the unambiguous success of the 60th anniversary specials, and they just want to try and, unironically, they want to try and virtue signal this point, even though they don't really have anything to say about it.
That should tell you something right there. And then finally, what happens when a series gets low ratings? What happens when it has less Jedi-type moments? What happens when fans...
Last Jedi, you've not mentioned anything. You said yourself that you didn't even watch it. What are the Last Jedi moments?
Criticize a popular show and start walking away from it. Hollywood and entertainment industry itself has to explain that. Why are all these fans leaving? Well, we have the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all a bunch of racists. Right on
Ooh,
top.
what's this? Doctor Who Christmas special sparks racist backlash. Now, considering all of the videos that I've been watching and talking about, that's pretty unambiguous. That's kind of true. I mean, like I said, the last time we watched a Yellow Flash video, he just showed open contempt for the idea of black people being on TV. So I think that Yellow Flash, unironically, does not like seeing himself represented in media.
In time, like clockwork, they come out. So this is from Newsweek. And you can see the headline, Doctor Who Christmas special sparks racist backlash. Every single time. And I'm going to tell you something. They're going to go after the fans even harder now because now they've got Disney's little PR machine under them. And what has Disney historically done over the past 5 years when fans tune out their bullshit?
I mean, Ncuti Gatwa has had to hire 24/7 security for him and his family because conservatives just loathe black people in media so much. So, you don't really need a Disney PR machine to point this out.
We have to come up with a reason why they're leaving. We're just sure all the racist and sexist ones. They're the ones that are leaving. Actually, the majority of the fan base they're okay with the woke stuff. So, like clockwork, and this isn't going to be the only one that you see. You're going to see articles like this the entire season.
Yeah, maybe when people stop being racist, people will stop reporting on it. There's a weird chicken and egg scenario here going on.
But they'll find one or two people that'll say some edgy shit. One or two people. And they'll...
I mean, you say one or two people. The clips I've been showing are from people with like tens of thousands of viewers, hundreds of thousands of viewers, some of them from major broadcasters. Like, this is not just trying to find the needle in the haystack. This is just, you've got one haystack here full of Doctor Who fans, and then you've got another haystack here, but actually, no, it's entirely comprised of needles who don't watch Doctor Who, but are really fucking racist and want to talk about it.
Frame the entire fan base that's upset that way.
No, not the entire fan base, just people like you.
Like this one.
You've even said yourself that you don't watch Doctor Who. Like, you don't care about Doctor Who, but you're making videos about this because you want to try and virtue signal your anti-woke credentials. Like, you've admitted yourself you don't fucking follow it, and you said, Last Jedi moments, but you couldn't even name any if you had a gun to your head in terms of Doctor Who.
I have never seen anything so awful as Doctor Who regenerated into a generic Disney Mary Sue hero who is exactly the same as every other character Disney destroyed a third person wrote. Like, that's not... How is that racist? Right? But they get one or two...
That in and of itself isn't racist, but it's a stupid point because they haven't really substantiated any of those points.
One or two, where some people are saying some edgy shit, and they label everybody that doesn't like this new direction as an istophobe. I mean, it's clockwork. It's clockwork.
This guy hasn't even read the article. He just saw the headline, set up his microphone, and was like, "Right, I can get some content out of this." And he's not got anything.
Standard bullshit that we've seen time and time again.
I mean,
and
like I said, Yellow Flash himself has said that black people on TV should be, at best, viewed with inherent suspicion, just them being on TV, even temporarily, in the role of a character like the Doctor. So, unironically, he probably doesn't want to give this too much coverage. He doesn't really want to look too deeply into this.
I wonder who this is still working on, other than the majority of people that already hate anyone that doesn't like woke. Like, I think we're at the point where people that were...
Define woke, such as?
Like, still kind of looking into all this have picked kind of the woke or non-woke side of the fence that they're on. I don't think there's a lot of maybes. So who is this meant to bring over to this new Doctor Who shit and get them to watch it? Almost like a useless article at this point, but they keep doubling down on it. Because like I said, Disney will be the last to change. They will be...
I mean, I'll admit that articles like this are pretty tepid, are pretty useless, because if you want to talk about the Christmas special sparking racist backlash, you don't want to talk about randos on Twitter. You want to talk about people like GB News saying that black people on TV is social conditioning and think of the children shouldn't see black people in TV. That's the sort of racist backlash you should be talking about and you should be combating and highlighting, as opposed to, here's a random on Twitter who says Disney Mary Sue shit. So, I'll meet Yellow Flash like a quarter of the way there on that point, but, for very different reasons. Now, this is one that I picked out myself that was in my recommended, why we should reject the message of Doctor Who from Low Temperature Hands. Now, I wanted to watch this because people keep on saying the message, but then they never actually define what the message is. So the fact that the message is in the title of this video talking about Doctor Who, I want to be educated on this. What is the quote message of Doctor Who, and why should we reject it?
Gone are the days of watching Doctor Who in an immersed state of suspended disbelief. That is, if you were brave enough not to be hiding behind the sofa the whole time. because current Doctor Who has been infiltrated by a very loud elephant in the room that's simply too big to ignore. To the point you really can't describe the show with full integrity without using words such as a vehicle for the message or woke. That's because the BBC have boxes to tick and Russell T Davies has, quote, a long list of messages to tell us, as well as an unwavering...
Okay, well, wait, 1 second. The long list, climate change won't be the only issue he will address in Doctor Who. It's only one of a long list. Like, Doctor Who has been dealing with climate change since the 1960s and the 1970s, so there's nothing wrong with that, of course, talking about it. But, like, okay, so what else? What's going on? And what is the message and what is woke? Come on. I know we're only 30 seconds in. Hopefully you'll explain over the course of the video, but I want to know what you're actually on about.
Messages to tell us, as well as an unwavering sense of pride about their importance. Now, in modern society, you may frequently observe that loud, self-righteous, loud and preachy behavior, as well as being offended by everything, is frequently praised as virtue. But I would like to scrutinize Davis's vast smorgasbord of messages he's crammed into the recent specials of Doctor Who. Is he a champion of the oppressed? A harbinger of words of importance, as he and the BBC would have us believe? Or is that perhaps not the case? Well, why don't we begin an investigation into the matter? First, let's look at the context for this message. Episode 1, The Star Beast, and there's a rocket violently hurtling across the sky. Everyone's out on the street, the rocket seemingly crashes, London's up in flames, and there's UFO speculation on the news. This would surely be one of the biggest news stories of all time. The people would be glued to the telly or social media, or examining the crash site to see what on earth is going on. Nope, that's not the case for these 3 young teenage lads from Rose's school. They have other matters to attend to.
Wait, Jason, firstly, the idea that should that happen, everybody, like, ever would be indoors, or also they would not even be traveling to go home. Like, these two might be on their way home. They might not even know about it. What a weird way to, like, frame this. Like, oh, these two are being transphobic despite there being a massive alien invasion or an alien crash or something happening. They don't know what it is. It could have been a plane. It could have been something. What does the news report say at the banner at the bottom of the screen? Steelworks explosion, unit forces in attendance, possible link to UFOs. So it's been framed as a steelworks explosion. So yeah, like, okay, whatever. These two can still be out on their bikes. What? Come on. And besides, the idea that the world is crumbling around them or something massive is happening, but people will still find time to be transphobic or homophobic or racist or whatever, is pretty self-evident looking at culture generally. What a stupid way to frame this.
To attend to.
Well, Jason, you alright? Alright, looking good, Jason. Well, give us a kiss, Jay boy.
And judging from the direction they're heading, they've been cycling away from the nearby crash site. So where on earth are they going?
What do you mean direction they're heading? Cycling away? Do you fucking have the map of Chiswick? Do you know where... Come on, this is such a stupid and shallow way to try and intellectualize and, well, actually the episode. It's so fucking vapid. The fact that you have to try and, like, oh, let's just zoom in on the screen to show the direction of the crash.
They're heading.
Like, we're actually doing some fucking investigation. Like, oh, it's so vapid. Oh, it's so stupid, but it's so, like, proudly stupid.
They've been cycling away from the nearby crash site. So where on earth are they going? But it's not just them.
They could be going home. They could be going home to watch it on the news. Come on.
Donna also seems practically indifferent about the spaceship as well. She doesn't check the news.
That's fucking Donna's character. She misses everything. Oh my fucking god.
The moment she walks in the door and barely talks about the matter. Instead,
that's the whole point.
And Davis is very much concerned with how he can get us to listen to his lectures. He said he was proud of his series Years and Years and its message, but it didn't attract...
Okay. What is the message of Years and Years? Are you just using the word message as like a catch-all term here? Because message has an actual meaning. Like, what about Years and Years are you taking issue with? What message do you think that Davis is talking about? Like, come on, please clarify. Like, you even said earlier you're going to be breaking it down, but you haven't.
An audience. So now his major concern is trying to figure out how he can attract audiences and get them to listen to his moral counsel, stating, we tried that, we'll try something else, we keep going.
AKA Doctor Who business as usual.
We're trying new things. What new thing is he trying in Doctor Who? Well, he's recognized that people like fantasy, so he's taking a sly step towards fantasy in the hopes of getting views. Hence the return of the Celestial Toymaker and goblins in the Christmas episode. Anyway, back to...
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so this is an interesting observation in that how is Russell trying to get more people to watch Doctor Who? He uses a sly step towards fantasy, you know, that's a fine observation to make, and that is a pretty clear trajectory that Rusty Davis has taken Doctor Who on. That's absolutely fine. But Low Temperature Hands is trying to frame this as how is he trying to get people to watch Doctor Who to engage with the message? But what's the message? We're 3 minutes in.
Step towards fantasy in the hopes of getting views. Hence the return of the Celestial Toymaker and goblins in the Christmas episode. Anyway, back to this episode, and we get this peculiar dialogue where Grandad Wilf is brought up.
I used to know your granddad, Wilf.
He's not with us anymore.
Right. Of course.
So yeah, Donna just chooses this obscure wording and proceeds to remain silent, implying the worst.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
He's not dead, you idiot. He's in sheltered accommodation.
Oh, come on. Similar to what the other video did before, I forget their name because they're all blending in at this point, but there's a reason this guy didn't play the full, lead up to him saying, I'm so sorry for your loss. Because it can be interpreted that he's just talking about Wilf in the present tense. It's not until he says, I'm so sorry for your loss, that it's a past tense he thinks that Wilf's passed away type thing.
He's not dead, you idiot. He's in sheltered accommodation.
But was the Doctor really the stupid one to draw such a conclusion? Anyway, this is just one of the many put-downs of the Doctor this episode, and the next one is about to follow thanks to the fiasco around the Meep, a homicidal Furby with Tourette's, currently feigning cuteness and innocence like this series and much of Hollywood feigns virtue. Unconscious projection, I suppose. Anyway, they couldn't decide.
It's the adaptation of the Star Beast from the 70s. It's what the Meep did in the comic strip.
If they wanted this thing to be a
adaptation
off of Pokemon or Dobby, so they said, well, we'll just copy both, even though it makes no sense. Sometimes the Meep repeats its...
How does Pokemon / Dobby not make sense? It's a design. It fits together coherently. How does it not make... will you not substantiate fucking anything?
Name like a Pokemon. And other times opts to talk in coherent sentences. Anyway, alien species on Earth, you can imagine...
So, that's fine. It is similar to Dobby the House Elf, where it will refer to itself in the third person as the definite article. Dobby refers to themselves as Dobby, and it will go meep meep as just a general way to be cute or just as a battle cry or something. It's an alien. It might have its own customs. This is basic sci-fi stuff.
Imagine millions of questions you'd want to ask, things you'd want to find out, and time is of the essence, so the Doctor begins an inquiry to find out what's going on, but is interrupted by Rose because he makes the unforgivable sin of assuming the Meep's pronouns.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
True. Yes, sorry, good point. Are you he or she or they?
Okay, so despite the fact that we're in a precarious situation and danger is in fact imminent, we are faffing around trying to...
In this scene, danger is not imminent. They don't know that the Meep is bad. They don't know that the Wrath Warriors and the unit soldiers are about to knock on their door. Why do they lie about this? Constant lying. Constant.
We are faffing around trying to figure out this thing's pronouns. Damn, just how deep is the conditioning that in such a situation you're thinking about pronouns? Now, is it wrong for the Doctor to assume the Meep's pronouns? Or is it wrong for Rose to assume an alien species has the same pleasantries, customs, and social political concerns as humans? Rose or anyone else could have offended the Meep or even made sexual advances towards the Meep in any number of ways based on Meep culture, customs, and instincts.
What the fuck are you projecting on this episode? You're on about why should we reject the message of Doctor Who, but you're the one who's talking about someone trying to sexually assault the Meep. That's fucking you. That's you trying to, unironically, trying to force your politics onto Doctor Who. That's not the episode.
Would be none the wiser until informed otherwise. Also, you don't lecture the Doctor on how to conduct himself with an alien species. He's dealt with them infinitely more times than Rose. You don't...
Rose doesn't know that. God, it's just fucking basic shit. Basic shit.
Lecture the...
getting wrong on purpose.
Doctor on morality, he's the most...
Anyone who's watching this video Like, the nearly 10,000 of you watching this video should, like, know at this point that this guy has no idea what the fuck he's talking about, or he's actively lying to you. Either of those are completely discrediting, but this guy's just openly just lying to everyone.
Most selfless man in the room, and has proved so time and again. Now, I'd like to take a moment here to remember what we're trying to achieve by going out of our way to include all this social political stuff in the show. In this case, with Rose.
The social political stuff in terms of stopping the story to talk about pronouns has been happening in Doctor Who for 50 years. Will he bring that up? Will he develop the thought any further? Probably not.
We want the world to be nicer to trans people. At least, so is claimed. Now, let's think about how we go about doing that with respect to Doctor Who. Well, let's say if we want the world to be nicer to trans folks, we can give the trans character in the show likable, relatable qualities. Well, the Doctor is the star of the show. He's the character you've loved for years, at least most of them. He's the most selfless and virtuous, and he's certainly the wisest and most intelligent. And David Tennant is one of the most beloved Doctors. The side characters aren't as important, and for them to be likable should show the Doctor his due respect. Anyone who thinks, speaks, or...
Okay, I think what he's about to say here would discount every single companion in the history of Doctor who has argued with the Doctor or clapped back against the Doctor or mildly insulted the Doctor, including but not limited to Donna Noble.
Or acts like they're smarter than the Doctor will be unlikable. When the wisest man in the room is speaking, they should shut up and listen. Any other behavior is the sign.
Okay, this honestly reads as somebody trying to describe the ethics and morals of Doctor Who from someone who has only had Doctor Who described to them whilst departing an airplane on a runway while the engines are still running. Like a quarter-heard, entirely misunderstood interpretation of the Doctor and companion dynamic, or the Doctor and the world around them. Donna insults the Doctor all the time. Rose questioned the Doctor's morals and ethics all of the fucking time. For crying out loud, even as far back as the 1960s, the companions were getting into fights and arguments with the Doctor. It's what the Edge of Destruction is all about, because the Doctor, despite being a 100-year-old alien time traveller, still has to learn shit, still has to, in some respects, grow up. So, if this is the message of Doctor Who, to try and talk down to the Doctor for the supposed message or whatever, yeah, this is Doctor Who's standard operating procedure, unironically.
I raise this point because this certainly won't be the first instance of this behaviour from Rose. Anyway, getting back to the story, the Doctor learns that the Meep is evil, and so reactivates Donna's Time Lord memory so she can help save the day.
Wait, so that was kind of it? Don't have supporting characters talk down to or explain something to the main character of the show. That was it, right? What a fucking bad point.
So Rose presses the very useful buttons and everyone is saved with runtime yet to spare. So Davies can get back to what's really important, and that is of course the message. This begins when everyone...
What's the message though? Fuck's sake, we're like 2/3 of the way through the video and you've not named what the message is other than this episode has a trans person in it. Is that it? Just queer people?
Comes to some kind of revelation about their gender identity.
We are binary.
She's not, because the Doctor's
male
and female.
And neither. And more.
Spare me your fucking psycho fanny, right?
And continues with Rose and Donna laying it
so
on
he's not even got a rebuke to it. He's just got the thick of it clip.
thick.
That thing is
This video is why we should reject the message of Doctor Who, but not only will we not tell you what the message is or what's bad about it, we won't even tell you why to reject it. We'll just have Peter Capaldi from In the Loop or The Thick of It just passive-aggressively edited in.
Around your cortex.
Yes, we know.
We know everything. Thanks.
You know how earlier we were talking about to make a character likable, they should show some respect to the Doctor? No, Rose doesn't like that idea, talking ironically to him and...
There's two people talking in this scene. It's also Donna. Why are you just fixated on Rose's presence in this? Is it just because she's the trans woman of colour? Donna is joining in on this ribbing of the Doctor. Why are you singling her out? I know why you're singling her out, but yeah.
And assuming a stance of moral superiority. How full of yourself as a teenager do you have to be to think that you know better than the Doctor?
And you know nothing. It's a shame you're not a woman anymore.
You're playing the clip of Donna doing the same thing. You're playing the clip that undercuts your own argument.
Got all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male-presenting Time Lord will never understand.
This line really proves what happens when you walk on eggshells trying to say the most politically correct thing. You end up spewing total and utter nonsense. This line suggests that if the Doctor woke up this morning and put...
One second, the idea that men won't understand something but women will is not politically correct. That's not a politically correct statement. If anything, that's politically incorrect. So we're just accepting the fact now that these words and these terms and phrases in this context have no fucking meaning.
Put on a dress and makeup, maybe made an effort to speak in softer, more feminine tones, he would have figured things out, because that would make him female presenting. But of course, if he then subsequently goes back to dressing as he normally does, then he will lose his understanding. All his life...
I mean, it's not just a case of dressing, but like it just kind of shows how like vapid an understanding of gender and trans people that Low Temperature Hands has. Like, oh, it's just the idea of just dressing up as a woman. Oh, there we go. That's just what the understanding is. Like, even he is somehow like stupidly interpreting the pretty bad ending of the Star Beast. This is like bad on top of bad.
This line also implies that the female to male trans folks would also never understand, as they do not fit Rose's criteria of female presenting. So they're lumped in.
There we
with
go. He's actually said a good argument. It's one reason why I don't like the ending of the Star Beast, or at least I don't like that particular line, because it's trying to like communicate a pretty complex social phenomena in a really stupid and vapid way that's trying to sound like a bit smart and edgy. Okay, that bit is actually correct. I'll give Low Temperature Hands credit there.
The men for this one, as are the women who don't present themselves in a feminine way, perhaps opting to wear a blazer, perhaps having...
But then he just makes it fucking stupid again. Like, it's not to do with, like, the clothing. It's not to do with clothing. Fuck's sake. It's so stupid.
A short haircut and not wearing makeup. This line is a reflection of the prevalent base...
men can wear makeup, but...
morality that is popular in identity politics. That you should judge people not on the content of their character, but on surface level things, the external. Yes, this is the message that Davis insists that we absolutely must hear. Of course,
the idea that the Doctor was apparently so egotistical that he didn't understand that he could let the Metacrisis power go, but Donna and Rose do. That's not the external. That's a failure of the Doctor's personality in this context. That's an internal issue. That's the Doctor's bias. That's the Doctor's, like, interpretation of, like, the society around him. It's the exact opposite of what he's saying. And like I said, I don't like the ending of the Star Beast. I don't like what he's criticizing it for, but he's just coming up with the most dumb fuck reasons to dislike it.
Of course, any notion of equality is out the window, because Rose and Donna are declaring that they are wiser than the Doctor because they are women, and Rose lays claim to feminine wisdom despite being a teenager who likely transitioned recently. Again, if you want to make Rose likable, so that the trans community can win favor with the masses, Rose should not say the most contentious, stupidest line that's ever been uttered in the history of Doctor Who.
Just let it go.
I'll partially agree with that, because, you know, having Rose be the one who brings up the pronouns in Beep the Meep, would, you know, it works in Doctor Who's context, but having the trans character do that and then having the trans character say this as well, along with her mother as well, I'll give them that. But to be fair, doesn't it kind of like show the terrible state of like media representation that all like positivity in terms of trans representation has to fall on a single character and a single actress? It's one of those things that you can complain about, but by virtue of complaining about it, you can understand the systemic issues that are against that type of representation. It's a complex issue, but, you know, Low Temperature Hands is like completely unaware of the complexities of the issue.
And we choose to let it go.
Anyway, so because Donna and Rose make an effort to present themselves in a feminine way, they have acquired this great understanding that they can let go of their Time Lord power and suggest...
It's not, oh god, it's not the superficial, like he just has no fucking idea how trans people are. Okay.
That the Doctor should follow suit. Just let it go. Hey, you know, that Time Lord power the Doctor has sure comes in handy when he's trying to, you know, save the human race and the universe all the time. The Doctor's wisdom was built from several lifetimes of experiences, from the genocide of his race to saving countless lives and putting his life in the utmost danger throughout. Rose and Donna didn't build that knowledge. They didn't live that experience. They acquired it secondhand, especially Rose. Yet now they think that borrowing his wisdom elevates them to a position of superiority. Anyway, so concludes Rose and Donna's epic
I'm actually confused as to whether or not he's actually watched Doctor Who in his entire life. Now, lastly, I wanted to cap off this video by going over Nerdrotic's review of The Church on Ruby Road, but it turns out he didn't actually do one. But I did notice these thumbnails by having Yasmin Finney's face on like a wrestler or a bodybuilder's body. Now, you need to ask yourself, is this sexist, racist, or transphobic? The answer is yes. Obviously, it ties into the racist and sexist idea that, you know, black women cannot be feminine and that black women are inherently masculine looking or they're manly looking and stuff like that. But of course, that is just Nerdrotic's deal. Just absolute open contempt for black people, contempt for women and LGBTQ plus people more broadly. Just utter disdain and hatred. But speaking of utter disdain and hatred for black people, let's go for Bolstrek. Let's just cap off this by watching his review on The Church on Ruby Road.
Remember all those people who said Russell's return was going to save Doctor Who? I'll take your apologies now, please. Everybody makes mistakes, but then anybody with a brain should have seen this coming. After 3 disastrous current year specials, the quality drops even further.
I mean, they are the current year spec. That's how that works. Okay?
Seeing as they no longer have David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and the sheer level of degeneracy and deviancy continues to multiply as Russell gives us...
Once again, that word degeneracy. I wonder why they would use such a hot-button, Nazi-associated term when describing black people and queer people. Bolstrek, I wonder why you're pulling that out from.
A special that is beyond horrendous. Frankly, this might even be worse than 90% of the output from the previous regime. And seeing how that played out, it's quite mind-boggling how the person that originally brought Doctor Who back into the public consciousness has seemingly lost any bit of...
It's kind of mad. We're like over 40 seconds into this review. He's just fucking shouting into a microphone. He's completely like lost the plot here. He doesn't have an actual thing to say or anything to substantiate. He's just saying it very, very loudly. He's saying nothing very loudly.
Talent or show writing ability he had. It's quite something to witness. This is one of the worst episodes in the history of the show and the worst introduction of a new Doctor ever. Yep, even the woman who fell to Earth wasn't...
Well, you say woman who fell to Earth. I was going to say Time and the Rani or the Twin Dilemma. What?
This bad. The Mind Virus has brought RTD to a whole new level of suck. We start with a mystery child being dropped off by a mysterious stranger. Who is this stranger? Nobody cares! However, I'm sure there'll be many current yearisms involved. Also, a baby girl, did you say? That's a bit of...
Many current yearisms involved in a woman dropping off a baby at a... This, like... Genuinely, a broken NPC. This... Imagine you're in a buggy and broken video game and you approach the Bolstrek character. You're like, oh, hi, I want to buy some of your wares from the shop. And he's like, current year. Like, he's a fucking broken NPC character. What does the current yearisms have to do with this scenario? And why are you unable to view Doctor Who outside of this lens?
Assumptive of you. You're just confusing the special people that claim to be fans of the show. The baby gets abandoned. Poor baby. But at least your time on the show is over as Dr. Nutty comes on screen looking sad. Sorry dude, the ratings are the ratings. Just plug your ears and close your eyes and just pretend that the ratings don't exist. Because they don't. Oh wait, I guess the baby's time.
Once again, #1 most viewed drama on the Christmas Day overnight, viewed by like 7.5 million people in the 7 days, and that's not even factoring the 28 days. An unambiguous smash hit of a drama.
Time on the show isn't over. Poor baby. As we find ourselves in current year, also known as hell. It seems the baby has grown into Princess Zumi the TikToker. I'm just assuming, oh there's that word again, that she's on TikTok because that entire generation has their brainwaves controlled by TikTok. Oh what a...
This is such an old man yelling at clouds review. She's young. I'm assuming she's on TikTok. Damn her, Zuma. His brain is mush. There's nothing there.
What a world we live in. What a world indeed. Princess Zumi is trying to find her real parents.
Oh.
Sorry, Princess Zumi. That will have to wait because Russell thinks he can be clever. Nobody will ever learn who your parents are anyway because by the time this plot line is over, nobody will be watching this crap.
Why is he focusing so hard on like the mystery element here? Like, it kind of shows he's really got nothing else to work with if he's hyperfixating on like this almost like background element of the episode.
Like that saying, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, did it really make a noise? Or will it just be drowned out by the squawking of RTD's sycophants on Twitter, who will themselves probably have stopped watching by then, even though they'll continue to praise it, because God help you if you run out of line with these special little people. It's hilarious to watch. Princess...
He's not even talking about the episode at this point. This is is just the mad, unhinged ramblings of somebody who's so disconnected from reality that he doesn't really know what's happening.
Zumi says she was foundled. Yeah, I'm not going there. Next, a BBC worker is tripped by a mischievous...
It's a natural, like, half-jokey response to the term foundling. Like, it's... Okay, Bolstrek, Chris, this is what we humans call social interaction.
Goblin, bringing down all the studio lights, almost killing Princess Zumi and the interview lady, because it seems that checkboxes are also running health and safety at the BBC these days. Great job! Then...
Unironically, he's blaming this black woman by virtue of her race and gender on this light falling over. Oh my god, he's so fucking racist! Oh my god! We talked about this before with his reaction to the special effects in the Halloween apocalypse, and he blamed those special effects on, quote, diversity hires at the BBC. It's a perfect one-to-one parallel. He blamed black people for the special effects of Doctor Who Series 13, and now he's here just claiming that black people can't do health and safety. This is like unambiguous white supremacy.
Next, we head to a nightclub where a person with a suspiciously low voice is on stage singing while Princess Zumi plays the keyboard and...
Women can have low voices. Men can have high voices. Like, this doesn't even, like, work as a transphobic comment. Like, it's unambiguously him just trying to be transphobic here, but, you know, I'm trying to keep it on the down low, you know? That's unironic. I'm trying to be, you know, I'm trying to be slyly transphobic for the hipster conservative kids. Like, unironically, that's his vibe right now. Oh, hello, fellow conservative kids. But it just kind of shows that he knows nothing about people. Women can have high or low voices, men can have high or low voices.
And Dr. Nutty shows up all sexy-like with his fabulous hat. Then Mystery Hand...
I wouldn't call this sexy, but if it's cool for you, Bolstrek, if it's cool for you, you know, if you want somebody to, you know, ride you like a cowboy, you know, if you're into that, I'm not going to judge. If you've got a weird cowboy kink, cool, go for it. Do you want him to wear the boots, you know, while he stomps on you?
Like with his fabulous hat. Then Mystery Hands unplug the audio and the person with the suspiciously low voice is embarrassed. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the goblins for unplugging the audio because that was truly horrible. Then some drunk lady starts screaming something about a willy and even more embarrassment happens. Then it's the next day and Princess Zumi is gazing at Dr. Nutty while he's gyrating with a bunch of dudes on the dance floor while wearing his...
He's not even gyrating. What? Once again, do you just not know how people dance?
Kilt, because that's appropriate viewing for children during tea time on Christmas.
It's Scottish! Are you just saying that kilts should not be on TV and should not be seen by children? This was the Queen's funeral back in 2022. This was broadcast to hundreds of millions of people across the world. Do you think that children shouldn't have seen this? Because they're all wearing kilts? Is this degeneracy to you, Bolstrek? Do you genuinely consider kilts to be degenerate? You fucking lamp!
Then Princess Zumi, her friends, and the suspiciously tall person with a deep voice are walking down the street.
Women can be tall. What the fuck? Women can... Isn't like the standard modelling height, like for magazines and runway models and stuff, like 6 foot? While every modelling agency has its own specific physical requirements, for runway modelling, female runway models are usually at least 5'9". Because you can just do that, I googled Millie Gibson's height. She's 5'1". So she's like maybe 5'6". I'm 6'1", and I know women who are taller than me, like cis women. Bolstrek, you think you're being funny and clever and transphobic here, but actually you're just outing that you've never spoken to or seen a woman in your entire fucking life.
In London, something I've heard you really don't want to do these days, so they jump into a taxi. Then Frosty almost falls on the taxi. Oh no! But luckily, Dr. Nutty took a break from his gyrating to save the day. Then a white male police officer shows up for the sole reason of being portrayed as a buffoon. Then we find out he's...
Oh my god, this is one reason why I think, genuinely, that conservatism is just, when you get right down to it, it's just a humiliation kink. You just want people to dominate you, you just want to be subservient, you want to be lied to and submissive the entire fucking time. Like, it becomes your entire political ideology, and it also becomes the way how you view media as well. You see a white male person in a piece of TV, and rather than just thinking that's a police officer in a scene in Doctor Who, you think, oh, it's a humiliated white male. Oh, just like me. I'm a humiliated white male. I am ironically quite represented here. Like, unironically, conservatives are such fucking cuckolds. Unable to watch media without thinking that's a black person in the scene, bad health and safety because a black person did it. There's a white male police officer who's meant to be all exasperated, even though it's a happy fantasy fairy tale scene for him, because he learns that his girlfriend is going to say yes when he proposes on Christmas. Like, he's exasperated because he doesn't know that he's talking to an alien who disappears in a blue box, but it's a happy scene for him. But Bolstrak is like, oh, it's a white male, he's being humiliated. Like, it's just cuckoldry. It is unambiguously just a humiliation kink. Conservatism is a humiliation kink, and I will die on that hill.
It's Princess Zumi's birthday. Well, happy birthday! This episode still sucks. Then the goblin pokes a hole in her.
The thing is that is quite funny. But it's not a laugh with him. It's just the fact that he thought, in lieu of actual substantive critique, he just fucking yells happy birthday into a microphone. It's... Oh, God. I'm going to send that to friends when it's their birthday. We'll play that again and you folks can just clip it so you can send it to your friends.
Well, happy birthday! Princess Zumi's foster mother is going to be looking after a motherless baby as RTD continues to set up his rather disturbing plot. Foster mom tells Princess Zumi not to lose the baby. Oh, what?
How is it a disturbing plot? Like, hundreds of thousands of kids are fostered every year. Nearly 70,000 children live with almost 55,000 foster families across the UK each day. Yeah, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, like, what?
And it seems the checkbox effects department hasn't mastered 1990s CGI. Keep trying. You'll get there never. Then...
What's wrong with this then? Like, are you just going to break it down, or are you just going to blame it on black people again?
And it seems the checkbox effects department hasn't mastered 1990s CGI.
Like, the checkbox effects department. I want you folks to actually think about that statement. What else do you think he means by this? Like, I'm genuinely, what do you think he means by this, other than women can't do special effects, queer people can't do special effects, black people or people of color generally can't do special... Like, that's the only, literally, the only implication of what he's saying here. It's unambiguous bigotry because he doesn't think that these other marginalized groups are even fucking human. Because I've watched so much of Bolstrak stuff in the past, I know for a fact that he is talking about black people. He's made that quite explicit in the past. So with that additional context, he's just saying black people have infiltrated the BBC's visual effects department and are doing bad special effects, possibly on purpose. Like, it's such unhinged conspiracy shit.
1990 CGI. Keep trying. You'll get there never. Then, oh, Jesus Christ. The goblins are doing some timey-wimey bad luck nonsense.
What?
Yeah, whatever. Then we get a musical number about eating babies. Yeah, this is what the show has degenerated into. A musical number about...
What? Fairy tales about baby eating go as far back as fucking, like, Hansel and Gretel. Like, what? Like, it's a dark fairy tale staple, but it's somehow degenerate now? Like, why? Because there's a black person in the TV show?
Eating babies on Christmas Day. It seems the motherless baby is lunch. Good lord!
It's a fucking fairy tale.
Then we're introduced to the King Goblin, and I'm convinced this must be a hoax. There's no way they're serious. Then Dr. Nutty and Prince...
What's wrong with it? Will you not substantiate a single fucking point?
Serious. Then Dr. Nutty and Princess Zumi save the motherless baby, and, as if the heights of what the hell haven't already been reached, Dr. Nutty and Princess Zumi have a dancing and singing number as the collective jaws of everyone who thought Russell was going to save Doctor Who drop once again to the floor. Then Dr. Nutty and Princess...
Like, once again, I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but what's the issue here? Like, Bolstrak kind of has to know that he doesn't have anything. Like, because if he actually had an argument, if he had a refute, if he had a reason why this didn't work or was bad or whatever, he'd say it. Like, he doesn't have a time limit on these videos. He can make them as short or as long as he wants. So the fact that he doesn't, so he must know, deep down in his frail white cells, that he just doesn't have anything and he's just angry at absolutely fucking nothing. And I think that contradiction of, I know this is bad, but I can't figure out why, I can't explain why, I can't say why, it's just degeneracy. I think that, honestly, is the reason why his brain is so fucking cooked.
Doctor Who drop once again to the...
Cooked and cooked. You know, in both terms, in both meanings.
Then, Russell takes the time to remind us, once again, that Chibs the Idiot's timeless child nightmare has been canonized. Man, oh man, the hatred this dude has for the real, now former fans is really something to be...
Remember, we've watched Bolstreck's review of The Timeless Children. Literally, the only issue he had with the backstory change or the retconning of Doctor Who in The Timeless Children was that it made the first original Doctor a young black child. Like, that was it. That was the only thing he had an issue with. So keep that in mind when he criticizes The Timeless Children. It's just a race thing. It's nothing else.
Behold, then the walls crack. Well, that's going to be an expensive repair. And Princess Zumi deletes herself from the story. Good move. I would too. It seems she never existed in this universe.
Then, you know, stop watching. Like, is this some sort of, like, weird masochistic thing for you? Like, you clearly hate it. You clearly hate being involved in it and subjecting yourself to the degeneracy of watching a black person on screen or whatever. And just don't fucking watch it then. You know, just don't. Don't engage. Whatever. Don't.
You are so lucky. It seems the goblins went back in time, or some crap, and kidnapped and feasted on Princess Zumi when she was a baby. Dear God! Russell, did you even read this back when you were writing it? The degenerate, deviant losers you cater to are not representative of normal people. I mean, at least somewhere in that smug head of yours, you must realize that. But you don't care. It's not your money, is it? Also, it seems...
What's the issue with this storyline? What? Russell T Davies has gone way darker in the past in Doctor Who. Wait, the Sarah Jane Adventures would be okay doing this as well, and that was explicitly for kids. Like, what is the issue? What?
Foster mother is a bit of a jerk without Princess Zumi and only fosters kids when she needs the money. Well, how delightful. Dr. Nutty does not approve, and you are almost in line for a 13th Doctor style lecture, but only certain people get those, so I think you'll be fine. Next, Dr. Nutty travels back in time to when Princess Zumi was an infant and saves the day and baby Princess Zumi from the drooling goblins with his magic gloves, and the terrible CGI ship with the singing goblins disappears. Then, the back to all grown up Princess Zumi takes off with Dr. Nutty for a series of surely to be badly written, politically correct adventures designed to appeal to a group of low-life degenerates and deviants who probably won't even watch. They'll just claim to because, as I said, you don't want to piss off the hive mind. With an ever-shrinking ratings number, it's going to be comedy gold watching this garbage burn itself to the ground. Oh yeah, and we finish with Mystery Lady. Who is it? Nobody cares! What a glorious train wreck this episode was. And that's it for today.
Okay, yeah, that was fun to go over. Okay, so folks, what have we learned over the past couple of hours? Well, we went into this video understanding that conservatives absolutely loathe black people. That was before Ncuti Gatwa made his debut in Doctor Who. And now that the Church on Ruby Road has broadcast and Ncuti Gatwa is here, they still hate black people. They're just a bit louder about it. I'll see you next time.
Well, happy birthday!